It's a glorious day for a race. Hello, everyone. I'm Ken Squire, and it's not just any race, but the toughest, longest, hardest race of the year. And we've assembled a fine team to bring it to you, starting with Mike Joy.
Thank you, Ken. Nearly $1 million is up for grabs today in the purse for the Coke 600. More so, two drivers by winning can position themselves for the $1 million Winston bonus. And among the surprises this week, a race record pole qualifying speed well over 160 miles an hour. And the man who set that feat, it's a bright spot in what's been a lackluster season. And with him at the head of the starting grid is the editor of Stock Car Racing magazine, Dick Berggren.
It has been a tough season for Mark Martin after championship hopes. He's had only 2 top 5 finishes, no wins, but he's on the pole today. Mark, is today the day to turn this year around?
It'd sure be great. You know, I can't think of a race I'd rather win than the 600 here. It's a great racetrack. The fan support is fantastic, and it'd be good for Folgers and Valvoline.
Also working pit road with me today, a fine race car driver in his own right. He's with the outside pole sitter, Phil Parsons.
Michael, this is 1 week after your first win in a Winston Cup car. This is 600 miles, not quite as short as last week's race. Can you do it again?
Well, we feel like we've done everything it takes, Phil. Worked real hard all week, everybody on the whole crew. It's a great weekend of racing and a week of racing here in Charlotte, and I'm just real happy we put ourselves in a position to do this.
Have a good day, Mike.
Thanks, Phil.
That's Mike Waltrip. Here in the STP Pit Communications Center, we'll be charting and overviewing the progress of the race, especially on pit road. Filling you in on attrition. We'll have some interesting guests to give their insight and perspective. Also, we'll update the True Value Hard Charger Award standings and tell you how you can win a brand new Pontiac Grand Prix SE in the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. Also today, we'll have 2 Goodyear Eagle updates and bring you up to date on all the racing around America that's going on this great holiday weekend. Fellow who just 7 days ago on this speedway sped to victory in the Winston All-Star race is cinching up ready to go with Dick Berggren.
And about an hour and a half ago, there were about a dozen mechanics on their hands and knees on the floor of the garage building the engine in this race car. Is this thing okay? Going to be able to make it for the 600 miles?
Well, Dick, we had to take that engine out and put a new one in. Robert and the guys weren't satisfied with what they found, so they pulled the other engine out and we put this one in, but we think everything will be all right. This one supposedly is an identical twin to the other one in horsepower numbers, and we'll just have to take it easy the first part of the race and see what happens at the end.
But there was a lot of work and no track time. In the back of the field right now is Phil Parsons. He's with Junior Johnson's car that has an unfamiliar driver. Phil?
Dick, actually, this is Flossie Johnson's car. I'm with Tommy Ellis. Tommy, tell me a little bit about the range of emotions you've gone through in the last week.
Well, Phil, it's been from the as high you could possibly be and almost deflatable. All the air let out of my balloon at one time. It's been a real roller coaster ride, up and down. And I tell you, it's hard to explain in words because it's hard to believe nothing can make you feel as good as I felt once I found out I had this deal. And then once I found out the problems that we had and the situation I was in, it was probably one of the lowest emotional feelings I've ever had. So I'm just happy to be here today and want to get on. I want to get on with the program, get this deal over with, and go to Dover.
Tommy, good luck.
Thank you, Phil.
The third member of our roving coverage team is no stranger to victory. He was a great NFL quarterback, and he's on the TBS sports staff, but that did not earn him his place here. He is the owner of a very successful short track stock car racing team. Let's join the great quarterback, Kenny the Snake Stabler.
NFL linebackers deliver a tremendous blow, but nothing like the one received by a driver when he slams a Winston Cup car into the wall at 180 miles an hour. The man responsible for the care of that driver is with me now, Dr. Jerry Petty. Dr. Petty, what preparation do you and your staff go through prior to the race?
Kenny, my main job is to assemble the people that work here in the infield hospital and out on the track. We have 6 physicians here today. We'll have 3 anesthetists, and there'll be 22 ambulances with some 120 people working in those on the track.
Dr. Jerry Petty, hoping to be just a spectator today.
Thank you, Kenny. The man who will call the race topside with Ken Squire is no stranger to victory lane here at Charlotte. He has 2 pole positions and 2 Winston Cup World 600 victories to his credit. The great driving ace from Alabama. Let's join Neil Bonnet.
Mike, I'm telling you what, this is the toughest race on the circuit for discipline for a driver. You've got to be concerned about having that car there at the end of the race. I came here a couple of times and should have won the race, but I messed up and used the car up early and didn't have anything left at the end. I changed my game plan. I won one, came back the same plan next race. I won another one, same game plan, it blew up. What do? The best plans don't always work. Quit laughing, Ken. Get in here and help me out of this thing. I blew up too many cars.
Let's talk about who's going to win this thing today. For sure, Michael Waltrip in car number 30 up on the outside is a real strong contender to win his first Winston Cup race and the 600.
Ken, all week long, we've been here for about 8 or 9 days. Mike Waltrip has shown a lot of maturity. Been real fast. Billy Engel's got that car going good, and he's the quickest guy in practice every time we clock him. If he stays out of trouble, he's got a shot at this thing.
And let's not forget that Dale Earnhardt has been Mr. Mellow all week, and he's rolled along up to win in yesterday's Grand National competition. And speaking of Mellow, let's not forget Darrell Waltrip, who's won 5 of these things, and he's always lurking in the weeds with 100 miles to go.
Ken, let's take a look at the racetrack and see if we can show the people what it looks like to the drivers and what they'll be going against all day long. You've got a tri-oval on the front straightaway. You go down in the first turn there. That's a tricky place getting in there. This thing's 1.5 miles around. This will show us the banking we're dealing with. The front straightaway and the back straightaway are both 5 degrees. The same banking on both sides. This is misleading right here. 24 degrees in 3 and 4, 24 degrees 1 and 2. But let me tell you, that's the only way they're similar in degrees of banking. They're opposite ends. They're totally different to get through. These guys are going to have their hands full on one end or the other.
The critical part of this racetrack has been turn 4 for some time. It has caused numerous incidents. Turn 4 area as you come into the tri-oval. Earlier, Neil Bonnet went out and examined the problems from turn 3 into turn 4.
For the past 9 days here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, this area right here is what's really been giving the drivers a fit. Entering turn 3 over here, you've got to come in an area that's having a little bit of problem on the racetrack. Keep in mind the relationship between this white line, the bottom of the racetrack, and the problem area. Right here, this pavement is beginning to sag. This is a landfill area. The pavement is actually drooping down. The only way to correct that is to come up here just like they've done right here. Dig it up, replace the asphalt, and try to get it as smooth as possible. If you don't get in this part of the racetrack just right, it throws you up the track and you're in for a lot of trouble. Yow, that hurt. As you can see, we're about another 150 foot up the racetrack from our first problem. Look at our reference point down here, the white line, a lot further up the racetrack. The first bump is throwing you in this area. Then when you get to this area, it's virtually the same kind of problem, only it's greater. Look at the size of the patchwork right here. The full width of a race car and 3 times that length. If you don't get in this particular area of the racetrack properly, when you get through here, you're going to be in worse trouble than you were the first time. And boy, that hurts too. Here we are now over turn 4, about 200 yards further around the racetrack than these first 2 problems. But look at our reference point down here, the white line. We're way above it. We're up here on the very top of the racetrack. There's no margin for error up here. But when you get up here, you got 2 problems. Here's the track sagging like it was before, but you got patchwork below it. You move right on up here, and there's more patchwork. Both sides of the car are running through this stuff right here. If you get into a problem right here, you're going to knock this wall down.
Several have tried in the course of the past 9 days here in Charlotte. Now the critical day for the $1 million in the 600. Field is out, rolling down, getting set for a start, and we'll be back with our starting grid for the 32nd running of this classic Coca-Cola 600 right after this. And we're back on the first of 3 preliminary laps. Let's take a look at the Haviland starting grid for the Coca-Cola 600. On the pole today, new record, Mark Martin in his Ford. Starting alongside, ready for his first win. If he can get it today, Michael Waltrip will be just ecstatic. Row number 2, Ken Schrader, seeking his 2nd win of the year, and alongside Sterling Marlin, the Junior Johnson team. Remember, Sterling placed 2nd here in '89. In row 3, it's Brett Bodine, the Kenny Bernstein Buick, pole sitter here last October, and the Daytona 500 winner, Ernie Irvan. For row 4 today, won his 12th Winston Cup at Talladega 3 weeks ago, Harry Gant, ready to go. And Alan Kowicki is there. His Ford team has been struggling, only 4 top 10 finishes this year. In row number 5 is Rusty Wallace. He's the defending Coca-Cola 600 champion. And Davey Allison, who won the Winston here in $325,000 last Sunday. Going to row 6, Bill Elliott. And alongside the Wood Brothers Ford, it's Dale Jarrett. In row 7 as they test pit road here, coming in, checking the RPMs on the tack to know exactly what speed they can enter. They follow the pace car through. Row 7 is Terry Labonte and the 1986 winner, Dale Earnhardt. Going to row 8, and there is Rick Mast in car number 1, and Lake Speed in the Cale Yarborough car carrying an inboard camera. Number 66. Row 9 is Ricky Rudd, and the 5-time winner, it's Darrell Waltrip. Row 10 is Kenny Wallace, replacing the injured Kyle Petty, and Morgan Shepherd, second here in 87. Row 11 is Derek Cope and Larry Pearson. Going to row number 12 is Chad Little of Spokane, Washington, and the 2-time 600 winner, Richard Petty. Row 13 is Dave Marcus and Greg Sachs. In row 14, it's Mickey Gibbs and Bartow, Florida's Rick Wilson. Row 15 is Bobby Hamilton and Hut Strickland in the Bobby Allison car. Row 16 is Bobby Hillen and Stan Smith. Row 17, Jimmy Spencer, the 2-time NASCAR Modified champion, and Tommy Ellis. Row 18, Joe Ruttman, third at Daytona this year, and Jimmy Sauter. Row 19, Ted Musgrave and Dick Trickle. Row 20 is Jimmy Means and Eddie Bierswale. And rounding out the field, starting 41st, Wally Dallenbach Jr., the 2-time Trans Am champion, making a stab at Winston Cup racing. Field is under green. We're ready for 600 miles in the Coca-Cola 600, 400 laps. And on the break, Mark Martin sticks that Ford out in front for the moment. Down the back straightaway, Ken Schrader noses from 3rd up into 2nd place. Car number 25 on the inside. Michael Waltrip holding the outside line. Sterling Marlin in the 22. The blue and white car staying right with him. And then Ernie Irvin in the number 4 is maintaining 5th. Brett Bodine 6 in the green machine.
Ken, you know, it's going to be interesting these first few laps. Talking to all the drivers, they're worried about taking care of their cars, staying at the end. But in the last few weeks, we've seen so many wrecks early in races. They're worried about track position. They might have to run the cars harder than they want to stay up in the front.
Up to 180 miles per hour in the back straightaway. Martin pulls to a 3-car length advantage as the Jack Roush team tries to get their luck straightened around after no luck at all over the most early part of the season here.
They need a good run today. They sat on the pole, and they've been struggling a little bit, and he's leading this thing. What I've been looking to see is Mike Waltrip has really showed some big numbers in practice every time out, and to see if he can close this gap up.
What do you want to do in these very first laps? Just steady it, just flow it, don't get too excited?
Ken, it takes about 5 or 6 laps, maybe 8, for the car to get the real feel of what you got. You're riding on new tires right now, and in about 4 or 5 laps, the guys will know if they're in good shape or if they're loose or they're pushing. They virtually say anything, don't say anything at all to the crew chiefs for 5 or 6 laps. Then you see what you got under you, and then you say, we need to do this, we need to do that. Right now, it's a feeling out process to see what you have.
Front 3 tight together. Michael Waltrip putting some pressure on, rolling that Pontiac up on the bottom of the Ford and going for the lead in the back straightaway. This in lap number 4. With him comes Schrader in number 25 for 2nd place.
Ken, I think that's the example of what you're going to see there. A little bit of pressure on Mark. He knows it's 600 miles. He didn't just pull over. You know, when Mike started by, he let Schrader by with him also. It's awful early in the race, but we've been seeing Mikey do this all week long, and he might be able to lead this thing for a while.
Ernie Irvin in the number 4 is 4th. Marlin back to 5th. Rusty Wallace in the number 2 car that started in 9th finds himself up to 6th. And Alan Kowicki has picked up 1 spot from 8th position to 7th. Meanwhile, Davey Allison comes up 2. He's into the 8th position from 10th. And Brett Bodine has fallen back into 9th in car number 26. Michael Waltrip out in front. What are your hopes for this race, Michael?
600 miles is a long way. I think our whole team has proven that we know how to win races of that length. We were 4th here last spring and have had a lot of runs on some tracks where being patient and being mentally sound are the keys. So that's a couple of them that'll take to win on Sunday. So I feel like we're in a position to win. We just see what happens, I guess.
Leading the Coca-Cola 600 out of turn number 4. Michael Waltrip, Ken Schrader holding right on. Then 3rd, 6 car lengths back is the number 6. Mark Martin, the Arkansas campaigner who made such a stout run for the national championship a year ago. Ernie Irvin retains the 4th spot. Sterling Marlin's Ford in 5th.
Wallace's Pontiac 6th. Kowicki's 7th. Ken Schrader made a great run yesterday in the Grand National race, the Champion 300. He came from the consolation race way out back up to challenge. Then motor went away late in the event.
And Ken, while we're talking about yesterday's race, Mikey Waltrip probably was shocked into something that he needs to do. He said yesterday he made a mistake trying to run a little too hard, got in the wall and tore up his Busch car that almost had a good chance to win the race. I think it really made him sit down and think about, hey, I got to take care of the one I got today. I think he's entering this race probably in the best frame of mind he's been in a long time.
Mike Waltrip from outside of the front row now has assumed the lead. Here's Schrader nosing down to the bottom of the racetrack. Pontiac and Chevrolet wheel to wheel at the line, and Schrader's going to go for it. Schrader collecting 5 bonus points for leading a Winston Cup race. And Mike stays with him on the outside, wheels back in turn 1. Schrader in first, Michael Waltrip in second. Mark Martin in the catbird seat looking on with Ernie Irvan closing on him.
Schrader's car has really worked good from the start of this race. Just as I say that, I see him wiggling coming off 4, but even a good race car will do that right there.
Here's Ernie Irvan, as you see, going up to 3rd spot. Mark Martin falling to 4th. Mickey Gibbs carrying the Champion in-car camera, Champion Sparkplug in-car camera, unsponsored car for the Team 3 Racing organization. Barry Dotson, the crew chief, after giving a good run in the early going. Shown now in the 24th position, 162 mile an hour. Last lap on the leaders. They're really hooked up out here, Neil.
I'm telling you, they're turning some good laps around here. I know it's hotter than we've had all week since we've been here for a week. So if they can turn some numbers like that, they got the cars in pretty good shape.
Take a look at this battle further back for 5th place. There's the number 22, Sterling Marlin, being challenged by the number 2 of Rusty Wallace on the inside. Alan Kowicki's number 7 is there, and Davey Allison up the outside takes another spot. He's into 7th. You're riding with Davey Allison in the Haviland automobile. Down out of turn number 4. Battle for 5th involves 4 cars, and it's tight running out there as they come through the tri-oval and complete lap number 11.
Again, you know, they made the statement earlier that Davey changed his motor just before the race started. That's not a really big problem with a team like theirs. The motors they have for backups are usually just as good as their race motors.
In the battle for 5th spot, number 2, Rusty Wallace back on the bottom. Pulls right alongside the Ford of Sterling Marlin. Number 2 Pontiac is into the position for the moment, but Marlin isn't willing to give it up. Rusty Wallace secures that spot for the moment, and here's the other fight. The Ford number 7 Kowicki and Davey Allison's Ford number 28 going at it. For the moment, Allison with the advantage. Up in front, Ken Schrader leads by 2 car lengths over Michael Waltrip. Car number 41 having trouble early. This is lap number 12 as car number 41, Larry Pearson, the 2-time Grand National champion out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, brings in the Kellogg's car.
And Kenny went all the way behind the wall, so evidently it's terminal.
First retiree from the event comes in lap 12. Larry Pearson back to the garage area. So the leader is Schrader. Waltrip is second. Irvan closing in third. More the Coca-Cola 600 shortly.
Coming up on 20 laps complete at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Ken Schrader leading Mike Waltrip and Ernie Irvan in the Coca-Cola 600. Today, TBS is presenting the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. The participating driver leading the green flag lap at halfway, and it could be Mike Waltrip, who just took the lead away from Kenny Schrader. Could win $10,000 from Right Guard Andy Perspern, and you could win a brand new Pontiac Grand Prix SE. To register to win, call now. The number is 1-900-737-1100. And if you are called after the halfway lap and know the driver who led it, you could be driving a brand new Pontiac Grand Prix SE. Good luck, and call to register between now and the halfway point in the race. Ken Squire?
Well, right now, Michael, the Pontiac of Michael Waltrip is just barely in front of Ken Schrader's Chevy and Ernie Irvan's Chevrolet as well as they come around to complete lap number 20. It's a 3-car dice for the lead, and just behind them by 12 car lengths comes Rusty Wallace, car number 2, followed by Davey Allison up to 5th. Kowicki is staying in 6th. There are your front 3. Good battle a little further back in the field. Dale Earnhardt is on the move from 14th. He's into 9th. He's just past 26 Brett Bodine, and so has Harry Gant. Bill Elliott has also passed Bodine. That moves Brett, who started in 5th, back to the 12th position. Have one car that's grazed the wall and is pulled on pit road. Number 34, Dick Trickle out of Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, and there's a caution out. First one of the day comes at lap number 21.
Trickle just barely grazed wall, and we've also got another car stopping on the back straightaway over here, slowing down. The 47 car. That might be the reason for the caution.
The 47 car is Greg Sachs, the New York State driver, and his Oldsmobile running slowly, bottom of the track, as caution is out for the first time in this Winston Cup event.
Kenny squared that thing up. I can see a place off the second turn on the wall over there, and he's really hit the wall hard. And that came right after the 34 car came in. There might have been some liquid or something. He sure got it in the wall off, too. There we go.
That was a good hit.
Yeah,
the wall was all freshly painted this morning, so Greg Sachs really knuckled into it.
The guy that's been doing the painting has been one of the busiest guys around here. They repaint that thing every morning. Hopefully we won't see a lot of that today.
Caution is out. Let's review for you the cautions records in this race. The most cautions we ever had were 13 back in 1980, and it happened again in 88. Back in 80 when Benny Parsons defeated Darrell Waltrip. Now the field is coming in at just that speed of 55 miles an hour, no more, or they will be penalized big time.
And they're really enforcing that, Joe. We got Dick Bergeron down in Mike Walter's pit. Let's see what they're doing to that car, Dick.
Well, they're going to change right side tires on this thing, Neil. Also take up a full load of fuel, and that's what everybody up and down pit road is doing. Oh no, they're going to change 4 tires on the thing, and yep, that's what a bunch of the others are going to do as well. Awful early in the race. They didn't really want to change too much of the car yet. Things are just kind of getting settled down here. Waltrip's got his 4 tires. He's gone, and he's away in 24.65. Got a blazing stop, but not a bad one either.
Field rolling back out. The least number of cautions in a 600, 1963, back when Freddie Lorenzen was king of the race. And there were only 2, so we're halfway to that record at the present time. Under caution, field lining up, and it will be a shuffle. We'll tell you how it's sorted out right after these messages from the Coca-Cola 600. 24 laps have been completed. We're under caution. Rusty Wallace elected not to pit. Before the race, Rusty said that car was just right, and he is elected to stay out at this time. That puts Pontiac first and second, because after that series of pit stops, Jimmy Means finds himself second, and then Ken Schrader would be in third, and I think that may come down off the board. We're showing Jimmy Means in second, Schrader in third as they begin to sort them out. Let's go down to Dick Bergeron, who's standing by on pit road.
And I'm with Greg Sachs, first man out. What put you out?
Well, Dick, it appears we cut a tire down. You know, it looks pretty bad from the outside here, but actually, if you look at the inside of the tire, I believe we ran over something, because I was about 3/4 of the way off of turn 2, and all of a sudden, even with the full helmet and the air conditioning and everything, boom, heard it blowing, it just went straight in. I was just fortunate that we were almost all the way up the turn. Otherwise, it would have been a real hard hit.
And the interliner is still up, and that's good, too. What kind of shape's the track in, Greg?
The track's just about like it was yesterday evening. You know, after the sports and race, it got very slick, and that's just what it's like today.
Okay, that's the story with Greg Sachs. Phil Parsons?
Yeah, I'm here with a very interested, really a couple of interested spectators. I've got Wally Dallenbach Sr., who is the director of competition for kart. Now, you would think this guy might be up at Indianapolis where they're having another little kind of a race, but he's down here because his son, Wally Dallenbach Jr., is running this race. He started last in Junie Dunleavy's car, a provisional start. I counted just before the caution came out, he had passed 12 cars. He'd made the most progress of anybody in the field. Wally, what do you think about the South?
It's always fun to watch Wally run, especially when he's got a good car behind him. And right now, Junie has put this Ford right where he wants it, and I think he's going to be fun to come through the pack. And it's always a pleasure to come down here and watch. I'm really impressed with the crowds and the way the NASCAR boys work down here.
Thank you, Wally. Let's go to Mike Joy in the Pit Communications Center.
Bill, I'm here with Larry Pearson, who has the misfortune to be out of the race, the former Busch Grand National Series champion. What happened today?
Well, I don't know, Mike. Yesterday we were running really good, and the car was just a little tight. Most of the guys were having to tighten their car up because the track was loose, but we had a pushing problem on our car. But we had to change motors this morning because the other motor just didn't feel right. The motor we put in only lasted a few laps today, so I guess we're out of it.
Sorry to see you out of it. Let's go racing topside with Ken Squire.
Coming down to complete 27, Rusty Wallace up front. Schrader is in second. Jimmy Means pitted. He had been in second just at the tail end of this caution period, which takes him out of the top 10 running order. Puts Michael Waltrip third, Dale Earnhardt to fourth, and there's Earnhardt charging right down to the bottom of the racetrack up against the yellow car, number 30 of Michael Waltrip, as they hit the back straightaway for the first time back under green. First caution period of the day after Sachs really tore up that car. Here they come, 3 wide into 4. And it's Earnhardt on the bottom for second place, ready to challenge Wallace.
Ken, that might be an indication of what these new tires do. Rusty Wallace stayed out, did not put tires on. Schrader came in and put only 2 tires on. Dale put 4, and it seems like the fresh tires are really going to be the tip.
Here he comes to the bottom of the racetrack, the Intimidator. 5-car battle for the lead. Ernie Urban in there to mix it up. Michael Waltrip on the outside. And just behind those 5, you see the number 6 of Mark Martin scooting down to the bottom. Earnhardt comes out of there like out of the proverbial slingshot and jumps out in front by 2 car lengths. And guess who came with him? Ernie Urban.
Again, right there's a good indication. There was Schrader leading the race before, a decision to go with 2 tires, and he's all the way back to 6th or 7th. This is going to show the rest of the guys, every caution, you're going to have to put 4 tires on to be in good shape.
Make it about 8th now. So Earnhardt jumps to the lead. Yesterday, he dominated this race in car number 3. Grand National race, that is, that we run on this track. Put on a great show until the very final laps. And in one of our Goodyear Eagle Racing updates today, tell you about that finish yesterday. Pretty dramatic stuff. Looked like he was going to waltz for a while. But someone stood right in his way at the very end of the day. Here's the top 3. Earnhardt there, then the number 4, and Mike Waltrip, who's set on the outside of the front row. They can keep the cautions down today, even on a day as hot as this. It's in the 90s. They can find themselves a new speed record for this event.
They're running almost as fast at these tracks like this, Ken, of a 1.5-mile, 2-mile racetrack. They run so fast here, they're almost as quick as the super speedway cars with the restrictor plates.
Record is 145 miles an hour. That was Richard Petty way back in 1975. Pass for 4th spot. Here's Mark Martin edging that number 6 down. Davey Allison wheeling through, gets himself 4th, and Sterling Marlin in the number 22 is back knocking on the door. Sterling moves up. Mark Martin falls back to 6 in that collection. Davey Allison in the number 28, winning $325,000 here this past weekend in the running of the Winston. Earnhardt in front now by 2 car lengths. How do you deal with the long 600 miles here at Charlotte?
You just sort of gear up for the 600 miles or 400 laps is the way I look at it. We run 400 laps and go for it. It's a long race, but still, you know, we can do it. We can race in about 3.5 hours here at Charlotte, and the guys will go out and run a pretty competitive pace all day long. You can mess around here and get laps, so you're going to have to go out and run a pretty strenuous pace there and do it for a long time. You just sort of psych yourself up and go at it with attitude. You got 400 laps to run here. You got to go ahead and do it as hard as you can. My main goal this year is to run 400 laps.
The former winner of the event, Dale Earnhardt, trying to give Chevrolet its 10th win in the 600. Ford is second in that list with 6 wins. Oldsmobile's collected a couple of victories. No victories. Pontiac has a couple of wins in the thing. Some of them go way back, like the David Pearson's time when he first came out.
Ken, here comes Davey trying the outside of the racetrack. And we've seen times this week when someone could get on the outside and get their car working out there. Davey's come up through there. In qualifying, he had a throttle hang open, and he was back there a little bit in the pack on the start, but seems like he's able to move up there now.
Ernie Urban sideways in 3. He got into that ripple strip that you were describing, and it cost him. Here's Michael Waltrip coming back up to 2nd, and the 28. Davey Allison slips right down to the inside and takes 3rd. Ernie Urban having a handful in turn 3.
Ken, you know, you go in there every time, it's kind of like threading a needle. If you put it in the right place, that's fine. But if you hit the wrong area, you just got to stop, regroup, get the car back under you, and start over again. He'll probably go through this time smooth. He'll dodge that thing. But when you got somebody behind you putting the heat on you, you have to go in a defensive manner every now and then, and he got over those ripples.
Looking further back in that pack, that's where the hard running is.
I tell you what, these guys back here are the ones that are really working hard. Their car is not running as good as some of the cars up front, and in turn, you're having to drive harder, and they get in a big pack like they are now.
Ricky Rudd, the number 5, running in the 15th position. Waltrip is in 16th. Derek Cope, number 10, in 17th. Dave Marcus in there. He's in 18th as you look in the back of the field, and they're struggling to move up through. Let's go back to the 4th position, and we watch as Sterling Marlin dips to the inside, and he works on Ernie Irvin, and the handle just flat one out of car number 4.
Ken, when you slip one of these cars like we saw a while ago, the wheel spins, it puts extra heat. These tires run about 220 degrees. You can slip them off 1/4 and buzz them up to 280 degrees, and it takes a while to get them cooled down and get them back under you.
Take a look at Hut Strickland, car number 12. He has come from the 30th position, and he is ready to challenge the leader. This is that Rebestos car that Bobby Allison has put together, and it is stout. Hut Strickland, a fine driver, part of that Allison family, coming to the inside. He's ready to work on Sterling Marlin. That's the number 12. Hut Strickland having a great run. Right behind him is Alan Kowicki's car number 7. It is in 7th spot.
Ken, you were talking about speed. They ran that last lap at 165 miles an hour, which is good. This late, you know, this leveled out. The cars are leveled out. They're pushing to the loose. They're doing whatever. But to maintain that kind of speed, they're getting around the racetrack good right now.
Strickland's making another impressive run. We saw him at Daytona make just a phenomenal run. This guy is bound to get himself some good finishes before too much longer. That Allison team getting stronger, and Hut Strickland looking very fine.
That seems to be their strong suit. The long periods of green running, the longer they run, the better they get. Their car handles real well, which Bobby Allison's always been able to do that. And the longer they run, usually the better that car gets.
Now here's Strickland on the bottom of the racetrack, and he knows his throw. That's Hut Strickland getting around, number 22. Here's a battle further up, and that is for 2nd spot. Davey Allison on the bottom. Michael Waltrip on the high side, number 30. Davey Allison there with that Ford that started 10th on the day. Give it to Allison. Watching Davey Allison as he fights his way down out of 4 and back to the line. Looking just as cool and collected as any Allison that ever raced.
And got all that good of safety, that new safety equipment. These guys are really paying attention to put good safety equipment in these cars now.
And as he passes under the condominiums, right behind him is the car number 30, Michael Waltrip. The Haviland in-car camera. Davey Allison taking us down into turn 3 as Michael Waltrip tries to close up a bit here. Michael's car in 3rd. There's the top 3. And for the moment, it's Earnhardt in front, Allison 2nd, Waltrip is in 3rd, and 40 laps have been completed. And a difference now in 4th place. Hut Strickland. He climbs the ladder another notch. Strickland in the Buick from 30th position gets himself up to 4th. Hut is having just a heck of a day.
Yeah, and they're running. They just picked the pace up about another 1.5 miles an hour per lap. So the whole field is picking up. You know, Earnhardt's seeing Davey come up there. Strickland's really picking the pace up. And the guys are telling him on the radio, there's somebody coming. You're going to have to pick it up. Pass for the lead here.
Back for first place on the inside. Here comes Dale Earnhardt being challenged by Davey Allison. He's there. Now, this is the battle between the 2 heavyweights over the past week. Look at these amazing pictures. That is Earnhardt down on the inside. It is Allison on the outside, and they're wheel to wheel into the back straightaway. Down into turn number 3, Earnhardt back in front with the Chevy, the Ford of Davey Allison on the outside.
I know why they're doing this, Ken. There's just 360 laps to go, so you need to move on up. But I'm telling you, they're going at it right now.
Talk to each other out there? Wave?
Well, you talk when they start scrubbing. You hear that metal squeaking on the side, then you're talking.
And there's one of the major spokesmen, car number 3. Earnhardt pulling up now. He's back there, but Davey Allison really put out a challenge to be considered for later in the event. And now, number 30, Michael Waltrip says, hey, I can do it too.
Again, we're going to get back into something we were talking about before. On a hot day like this, to make the pass that Davey made, he used up some tires on that car. And you can't overemphasize it enough to get the point across that heat slows him down. He got him hot. Now the guy goes by him. He'll have to cool him back down, and he'll make another run on him. A little Mikey'd like to get up here and lead this thing some. He led it right at the first. And like we said, these three guys we're looking at right here with Davey and Mike and Earnhardt have been the strong cars. And here they are working their way to the front. Schrader got himself out of a little bit with a tire change a while ago, but he'll be back in it later.
If 6'4" Michael Waltrip wins a race, you're going to stop calling him Little Mikey?
He's still got a big brother, Darrell, so I just had to keep calling him Little Mikey.
You know, Neil, I like the way Davey Allison played that a minute ago. He went up there, ran Earnhardt hard for a lap to see what Dale had for him, and then dropped back in line, and here he comes trying to work right back under Mike Waltrip and go to the front again. The question, I know you're in there in a race car, you're running hard, you're trying to race and win this thing, but what is the point with 350 laps to go? Why not just drop in line and ride there a while?
Mike, what you need to find out this early in the race is how good your car is. If Davey would have tried that pass and he couldn't get by him, he'd be calling on the radio, hey, we got to do this. Or maybe even when he passed him, when he got in front of Dale, he might have loosened him up, and he calls in and say, when I'm leading, I've got to be tightened back up a little bit. Right now, you want to find out what your car do, then that gives you 400 miles here to fine-tune that race car where it'll be better later on in the race.
Davey Allison, how important is patience in this Coca-Cola 600-mile race?
Well, all you have to do is look back at how many that Darrell Waltrip has won of the 600s. And every time, just about every time, I don't think he led a lap before the halfway point. So patience, I think, is the most important. You got to have a good race car, but if you got a good race car and you don't have any patience, you won't be around at the end. So you got to have the patience, too.
His best finish, 5th in '88, and he hopes to improve on it here on this Memorial Day. The pride of Alabama, Davey Allison in number 28, currently shown 3rd. With Earnhardt in front, Michael Waltrip with him, and now a switch of positions. It's Davey Allison up another slot. He gets himself 2nd. That'll drop Michael to 3rd. Strickland still there in 4th.
And at the same time, when we're looking at this, see the big gap close up on Dale right then? Dale probably saw him coming. He really sailed the car off in 3 and hit the ripples and broke loose, slid up a couple car lengths, and in one corner, Davey closed it up. There's one speed you can run through there. If you overdo it, you're going to pay the price. But there's a fine line. You got to get in there hard. It's hard to tell how much you can work with in that particular corner, and Davey's all over it.
Closing in lap number 47, Davey Allison. Chevy versus Ford for the lead in the Coca-Cola 600.
That pass a while ago, one of Dale's trademarks is the minute you pass him, we saw it yesterday in the Busch race. Here's Davey trying to get back under him again. Dale's trademark is as soon as you pass him, that very corner, he sticks that thing back under you again before you can get settled down. And the hard thing to do is when you pass him, you need to get that on the inside and hold him back there. And it's hard to hold somebody like Dale back.
Alan Kowicki's number 7 has come on pit road. He was running in 7th position. Kowicki in, and they're checking tires over on car number 7. Something out of kilter there that's hurting Alan Kowicki badly. You see them working on that left rear, jack going up, fueling the car.
Again, usually when you see this, when they do 4 tires this early in the race, it's usually an equalized problem with a tire, something pertaining to tire. The driver can't say, boy, it's a left rear, right rear. You usually make the wrong judgment. You just have to say tire problem, and they do all 4 of them. That's the only reason for 4 at one time.
Out of turn 2, leaders Earnhardt and Allison running 1 and 2. So as we get down to lap number 50, the 2 drivers that have had the best record here this week get at it again. And here's Allison on the inside coming to the line, becoming the 6th different leader of the event. Davey Allison pushes the nose of the Robert Yates car out in front.
See if Dale tries him right back again like he did before. He couldn't get under him. See, Davey kept the car down on the inside then, preventing that move from Dale back on the inside. He's the best you've ever seen. As soon as you pass him, he'll stick it right under you. Davey protected the inside, and now he might be able to hold him off.
And from the Haviland car camera in Davey Allison's car, you can see him trying to walk away from Earnhardt in the number 3. It's still early in the day here in the Coca-Cola 600. It's blue skies, high temperatures. Last week on Saturday, 90-degree temperatures, mid-50s on Sunday. Not that way this weekend. It's been a great weekend, a glorious weekend at Charlotte, and what a great Coca-Cola 600. More of it upcoming shortly.
On a sun-drenched Sunday at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Davey Allison continues to lead Dale Earnhardt in the Coca-Cola 600. And Davey Allison might be the name to know after halfway if your phone rings in the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. But first, you have to call, and only once, to register to win. Each call costs 95 cents, and the number is 1-900-737-1100. Know who's leading at halfway, and if they call you, tell them you could drive home a new Pontiac Grand Prix SE in the Right Guard Halfway Challenge.
Here in the Coca-Cola 600, 57 laps are down of 400, and you're watching car number 2, Rusty Wallace, in 7th position. Right behind him is Mark Martin in the car number 6. The interesting thing here is that Rusty Wallace has yet to pit.
He didn't pit on that caution flag, and I look over here in the pits, his crew's standing on the wall with the gas cans and everything ready to go. So they're going to, if they don't get a caution real quick, he's going to make a green flag stop.
Rusty Wallace, last year's champion, being challenged by Mark Martin in the number 6 that had set on the pole, clipping off a lap at nearly 175 miles an hour. The overall record for this mile-and-a-half track is over 175 miles per hour, set in the 500-mile race in October. That belongs to Alan Kowicki, but it's usually a little warmer. That brings the speed down, reduces it a bit here in May.
Ken, when we see this deal with Rusty here, if you see that board hanging out there, this is a driver call. They've got everything ready. The minute he feels that thing miss a lick or something wrong, he's coming in, and here he comes. He's needing fuel in that car. He's turning down pit road right now.
So the car that has been running in the 7th position now on pit road. That'll move Mark Martin up into 7th. Dale Jarrett will go to 8th. Sterling Marlin comes up to 9th, and Lake Speed will find himself in 10th spot with Harry Gant 11th, and Dave Marcus having a great deal in 12th. Here is Phil Parsons.
Yeah, Rusty Wallace is in for right sides and fuel. As Neil alluded to with the scheduled pit stop, the way he goes, he gambled, he stayed out on that caution flag, and he had to pay the price. He had to come in under green, so that'll put him a lap down, and now he can only hope that all the rest of the leaders will have to pit 20, 30 laps from now, and then like to get back in sync.
Back away, Rusty Wallace.
Ken, a while ago we were asking about Alan Kowicki. There's a new deal in the works here with the inner liners, and Dick Bergman has that story for us down in the pits.
Well, Neil, the situation with the inner liner is it's a tire within a tire. And the point is that if, as happened with Greg Sachs, a driver cuts the outside tire, this inner liner still here holds the car up. In the past, there was a tube inside this inner liner, and when the tires equalized, what that meant was the tube failed, and the tube would just bunch up in here, and the tire would shake, it would vibrate, and a driver could not hold on. He'd have to come in and change that tire. Goodyear has done something brand new for this race. The inner liner has no tube at all. It's a tubeless inner liner. The hope is that if something goes wrong here and you have the same air pressure inside as outside, you won't have nearly as much tire shake. Should make it a lot easier. It certainly has cut down on the amount of lead weight that they have to carry on the outside of the tire. The key is, this is the very first time they've ever tried it in a Winston Cup race. They have tried it in IROC, and they proved it successful there. But this afternoon, in the longest race of the year, this is it. Big experiment with inner liners.
Dick Bergen of Stock Car Racing Magazine with that look at what could be revolutionary. We'll wait and see if the tires hold up under this new deal as the day goes on here. I think there's been some questions about it. I know it's a patented deal by Goodyear, and they're the only ones that have it, so if it works, it's going to be dynamite for them.
Ken, there's been just like anything new, they've had a few of them that had flats, but when they do have that equalized problem with this new type, it's not out of balance as much as it was before. It's not had to pull out of balance and shake the dashboard out of the car down one straightaway or tear a ball joint out. This right here, if they do equalize, it'll be very minimal vibration in the car, and I would think that's what happened to Alan Kowicki a while ago when he did the 4 towers.
We're showing you the complete running order as of 50 laps. The total running order as of 50 laps. Morgan Shepherd's car coming in. Morgan had a great run yesterday in the Grand National competition. Was a contender most of the afternoon, and you see him there in 25th position. Hoods up on that one. That does not look good for the Bud Moore team.
No, they're taking the air cleaner top off. When they pull that element right there, they've got to work on the carburetor. They're trying to get to the distributor, so they've got a big problem on the car.
Bud Moore cars have run here very well in the past.
There's a guy that's not having any problem.
That's Davey Allison in car number 28. And look at him thunder away from the field.
Davey Addison well out front. Now, Rusty Wallace will fall well back in the running order, Ken, but that's one of those Roger Penske calculated risks. Penske owns that car. He, of course, is watching his other race team today, but they gambled looking at the history of this race. There would be more than one caution flag in those first 60 laps, and they'd have another chance later on to get in for fuel and tires and maintain track position instead. This time the coin came up tails. Rusty's the defending champion of this race, and watch for him to work his way back up front.
Mike Joy, one thing that Rusty can hope for now, if this thing goes green all the way till the other guys have to stop and make a 100-mile run here without a caution, he hasn't lost anything. The only thing they can hope for now is it goes green till the other guys make their stop, and then they got another 100-mile run. Hopefully they won't go back down. So he needs some green flag running to get back in the lead with them.
Pretty good contest right here as you watch the number 22. That's Sterling Marlin, and he's going up against 66 Lake Speed, which was, until a few weeks ago, the ride of Dick Trickle. Now Mississippi's Lake Speed is at the controls, and Bill Elliott's number 9 is there. And that's the contest that is enjoying for 10th position. From Lake Speed's Trop Arctic, number 66. Gives you a little feeling of how high you go on the merry-go-round, and that 24-degree banking of turns number 3 and 4.
Everybody likes to ride a roller coaster. They need to try that one at 170. It's a lot of fun if you make the curve.
There you see the number 22 Sterling Marlin right there, and here's Bill Elliott's number 9. Boy, they're struggling with that number 9 team this year.
They've been so dominant in the past, and they've run into a snag, and it's just hard to get the car back like they want it to be.
Looks good right now. Here's Elliott in the number 9, moving around Sterling Marlin. That's for 11th place. Harry Gant right there as well.
Now you tell me that's not a match set. There's Harry Gant with Darrell Waltrip right behind him. These are two of the type guys that you just don't hear a whole lot from early in the race. And at the end, if they're still running, we'll hear from those two people.
Showing Lake Speed in the number 66. In 10th, Bill Elliott in the number 9 car. In 11th, Sterling Marlin, now 12th. Harry Gant, 13th. And actually, the 5-time winner, there's a lap car in there. I believe that's Alan Kawicki. Darrell Waltrip is 14th on the field. There's that number 22 really rolling up to the outside in the 4th turn.
Got in there just a least bit high and took the slide up the track.
Harry Gant picks up a position from Sterling Marlin, gets himself to 12th position. Car number 33. They're the leaders as we have completed now 69 laps of the 400 to be run in the Coca-Cola 600.
Davey Allison and Dale Earnhardt continue to try and charge away from the field in the Coca-Cola 600 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Welcome back on this blazing hot afternoon. The two men in black are the fellows who are getting the job done. It's no surprise they're near the top of the hard charger point standings. Earnhardt, the leader in this contest that awards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 points every lap of every NASCAR race. Kyle Petty is out with a broken leg until September or October. Davey Allison will likely climb up into that second spot in a couple of races. Ricky Rudd, who led the points early in the season, is 4th, and the defending winner of this race, Rusty Wallace, the top 5. One of those drivers, or one of these drivers in the race today, will pick up $1,500 from the $5,000 pool posted by True Value for today's event. Ken Squire.
75 laps now down, and you look out here is number 97, Tommy Ellis in the Flossie Johnson car. He is being challenged by car number 24, Mickey Gibbs. Here, one of our in-car cameras. What a story on that Johnson number 97. Junior Johnson is not here. His car has a new driver. Jeff Bodine was injured. And then last week, well, let Mike Joy tell you the story of Junior Johnson in this 600.
Junior Johnson is no stranger to controversy. Why, just last Sunday he was enjoying a short track shoving match with other legends of the sport, including Fred Lorenzen, Cale Yarborough, Pete Hamilton, Buck Baker, all in good fun. Junior even laid a wrinkle on NASCAR President Bill France Jr.'s pace car.
Well, now they run into me. I was holding the groove, and they tried to take it away from me. That was the problem.
3 hours later, it wasn't such fun.
Tommy Ellis struggled with 14th in the Winston All-Star race in one of Junior's 4.
NASCAR measured the engines of every car in the Winston, and late that night announced the number 11's engine was fractionally oversized by 3.8 cubic inches. The rule automatically applied NASCAR's version of the death penalty. Junior, interim driver Tommy Ellis, and crew chief Tim Brewer were suspended for 12 weeks and fined $25,000. Was this a case of fudging the rules or an honest mistake? Junior's team likely just used the wrong crankshaft with this particular engine block. Did any driver feel the difference between 358 and 362 cubic inches?
Oh, absolutely not. You never know it. Nobody in their right mind would cheat with 3 or 4 cubic inches. It just wouldn't be done. It would be 20 or 30. That's the only way it would be beneficial.
So an appeals board and NASCAR Commissioner Bunky Knudsen reviewed the evidence and the infraction. They reinstated Ellis, lowered the fine, and cut the suspensions to 4 races. Johnson and Brewer cannot enter the garage, pit area, or any part of the track controlled by NASCAR. They can come up here, sit in the grandstand, sit in the suites, and communicate with the team by two-way radio. The 11 car cannot run. So Junior's wife, Flossie, a fixture of the sport for many years, steps into the limelight as the listed owner of this car, hastily renumbered 97 for the next 4 races. A week that started in fun and smiles for Junior and his team ends in controversy and leaves a championship chase in ruin.
Missed that smile around here this week. First race the Junior has missed in 330 Winston Cup events now.
Ken, I really hate to see that. I think if you went through that garage area and asked every crew chief and every mechanic what they thought about that, it was just an error on putting the crankshaft and block assembly together. 3 inches, you just don't do it on purpose, you know, to do that. It'd be more whatever. And I sure hate to see the problem we have in there.
Junior Johnson is not here today, but Flossie Johnson is. She's parked down there in the garage area with her car, number 97, out on the track. Number 12, Hut Strickland has just come in, and number 30, Michael Waltrip, has made his pit stop. The Lake Speed number 66 has come in. We're at lap 81. Remember, we ran about 20 laps before we had the first and only caution thus far today here in the Coca-Cola 600. Jim Sauter has just pitted. Here comes Hut Strickland back out. What a run Strickland made early in the going from 30th up into the top 5. Davey Allison continues to lead. Dale Earnhardt is second. Ernie Irvin is third. Ken Schrader fourth. And Mark Martin is fifth. Remember that the Robert Yates team, Davey Allison and company, had an engine change this morning. Race morning itself, after discovering exhaust valve stem seals had come apart on that car. Now here are the lap leaders. Here's really the story of the race from the very beginning. Mark Martin set out from the pole. Then it was Michael Waltrip taking over from the outside of the front row. Ken Schrader got a taste of it. Michael came back, got past him. Then Rusty Wallace went up on the leaderboard. He had his Pontiac out in front for a few laps. Then we began to see Earnhardt, and Earnhardt led for an extended time to the 50th lap. Now Davey Allison taking over at lap 51, and we've gone up to 82. As we try to give you a picture of what's happened out here thus far in the race, and again, we'll give you that kind of summary several times today to let you know how it's going. Here's Earnhardt on pit road, second place car, and here's Phil Parsons.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt's in for 4 tires. He's one of the first leaders to come in and get 4 tires. Most of them will be getting 2. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when he gets on the racetrack. David Smith carries the jack around to the left side, gets it up in the air. Kirk Schomerdean's taking the left front tire off. This is one of the best pit crews in the business. They've won the championship 3 or 4 times in the last 5 years, and Earnhardt's away.
Good-looking pit stop. Here's Davey Allison on pit road. Leader is in. Here's Dick Berggren.
On the right front, Devin Barbie. He's one of the engine men. He had his hands all over this motor this morning. Right rear is Eric Horn. They saw what Earnhardt did, take 4. They're going to take 4. They're taking 4 scuff tires. The gas man is Norman. He's the mayor, Kujimizu. And your jack man is Jeff Carr. They've got the right side tires on it. Left side up and off. Good stop so far for Davey Allison. He's down and gone in 21-27. Good stop.
Ken Schrader has assumed first place. Mark Martin has taken second, and Dale Jarrett for the moment up to third, but it's a wholesale change of positions. Green flag conditions for the stop. Here's car number 9, Bill Elliott coming in. Sterling Marlin, Ricky Rudd. The 26 car, Brett Bodine, have been on pit road, and Schrader in the 25 has assumed the lead.
It's going to be interesting now, Ken. We just went through a procedure where some of the cars took 2 tires, some took 4. It takes longer to put those 4 tires on, but the thing is so much faster for a few laps on 4 tires that you can possibly make it. Here's Earnhardt on 4 tires, fixing to get back around Schrader, which puts him back into the lead lap. He's about to go a lap down.
86 laps complete. Charlotte Motor Speedway, 32nd running of the 600, the Coca-Cola 600, here on TBS this afternoon. Here's Mark Martins, number 6, diving in for fuel and tires.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, once they see what happens, you know, you might play the first time with 2 and then see how many you got, see if they go with 2 or 4. They're going for 4 tires on this 6 car also. The additional speed is worth a little bit of time to put them on there.
Here's Dick Burke.
Well, there's a little difference here. Mark Martin's change. He took on sticker tires, brand new tires, as opposed to what Davey Allison did. He also had a very good stop. 21 seconds flat for Mark Martin.
I would say that's a good stop there, Dick. I'm telling you, that's putting them on there before.
I think they've tried that another time. So at 86 laps in this event, they had covered 129 miles, which is pretty good gas range. Now we're working lap 88, and still to come in 132 miles in is Ken Schrader, Harry Gant, who got such great gas range at Talladega, and guess who? Darrell Waltrip. And there's Waltrip, 5-time winner of the event, finding himself in 3rd for a moment. I would be concerned that he'll fall back a bit now and then find himself right back up in the hunt. We asked Darrell earlier about that Junior Johnson controversy. Here's what he had to say about it from a driver's standpoint first.
Well, as a driver, if they had taken away my $18,000 that I worked real hard to claim because my owner put a little bit too big a motor in the car, I'd still be looking to the owner to get my money. I know that. So, you know, from a driver's perspective, he knows 4 or 5 cubic inches would make no difference to a driver whatsoever. He'd never know the difference. And obviously, it makes a big difference to the NASCAR people. So therein lies the problem. The driver doesn't know it, and the car doesn't perform any better, but it gets him kicked out.
Okay, so now as an owner, you look at the situation. How do you feel?
Well, you put some boy in a shop and put wrong crankshaft in the motor, you know, it's a mistake, honest mistake. There wasn't nothing we can do about it. You know how NASCAR is, they just jump to the conclusion it was just a mistake, that's all. I don't know what we're going to do about it.
I tell you what, Ken, I always thought Darrell did that when he was driving. He's got his cues mixed up there.
I'll tell you what, we missed Junior Johnson around here today. Everybody in the pits is shocked by what has happened. I'm sure glad they made it only 4 weeks, but he has to be hurt. He and Tim Brewer both. And C.B. Raines, who is a really good man, and it had to be an honest mistake of Mr. Raines.
Ken, it's a tough deal as we watch Flossie Johnson's crew go to work for driver Tommy Ellis. But the rule is very precise, 358 cubic inches, including wear. I agree it was an honest mistake. I hate to see Junior not here, but if you allow 361, that's what everybody will build next week. And if you don't enforce that rule to the letter, then you really don't have any rules. It's a tough break, and I hate to see Junior gone, but they've got to enforce those rules to keep their integrity.
And I had them also up at Wilkesboro one time. I won the race up there, and they checked the motor that afternoon. It was too big, and they checked it the next morning. It was 357.8. They get it within thousandths for it to be legal.
As Barney Hall said yesterday,
wreck up in 4.
Got a problem up in turn number 4, and that is Stan Smith from Alabama, who's looped it right at the end of this caution period, which will be a big advantage for Schrader and Gant, who had not pitted. First and second place cars. We have a second car in the wall. There's Stan Smith that is down on the bottom of the racetrack. On the outside of the track is car number 55, and that's the Midwestern champion, Ted Musgrave, the Franklin, Wisconsin runner. 3 Wisconsin drivers in the race. Jimmy Sauter, actually 4 if you want to count Dave Marcus, who hailed from up there originally. Let's see what happened in turn 4.
See him up high. The 2 cars got together. Looked like Stanley Smith was under the Rick Wilson car. They got loose, got together. He's going to back it up in the wall. The car hits up there. Got it locked down. There's nothing you can do but hang on. Right here, thank goodness it stayed up. It made one loop down, and this is when the other car was trying to avoid him. He's not in the shot yet. As he saw him come down, he tried to turn to miss him, and he loops the car back in the other direction.
Here's Ted Musgrave's 55, headed for the outside wall.
And that was Bill Elliott that Musgrave missed by about 6 inches as he looped the other direction.
And again, that's the experience as opposed to the inexperience, and get you in trouble out here so quickly on this 1.5-mile track. You saw Bill Elliott just get through without a problem. Ted Musgrave, relative newcomer, having a handful. More on the Superstation shortly in the Coca-Cola 600. Back with you at 95 laps, 142.5 miles, and the pace car has sent the leader and several other cars around Neil. Here's Harry Gant in car number 33 coming back by. The pace car released the 33, which we had as the leader, the Schrader car, had just pitted. And here's Alan Kowicki, Ernie Irvin, Rick Mast coming by.
Ken, what's got me confused on the deal, the pace car's on the back straightaway and everyone's passing him. Usually they have to hold up at least one car, and every car on the track is passing the pace car. I don't know what's going on right now.
He's picked up car 25 as we come by.
Yep. Schrader was just fixing the pit. He was leading the race and he was fixing the pit. And evidently they thought they picked up the wrong car.
25 gained a lap on yellow. Apparently that's the story from NASCAR, that Schrader had gained a lap on the yellow. And they're trying to get the field straightened out. He did not stop in the pits. He shot right through.
He was going down pit road for his normal green stop, and caution came out.
To it. I mean, it's not like he was doing something fancy out here. He was committed to coming in, but he gained a lap on the field, so they're straightening that out. That puts Schrader up in front. It should put Gant, number 33, in second. We had, let's see, the number 4 car, Ernie Irvin's car, and the number 22, Sterling Marlin. Number 7 car, Kowicki, just at that point, a lap down on the event, as well as the number 1 of Rick Mast. Let's see how they continue to work this out. The NASCAR officials talking on the radio with Elmo Langley, the driver of the pace car who won the Legends race a week ago. And Neil?
Ken, while we got a little bit of time here, Kenny Stabler's down here in one of the big transporters. He's down there seeing what's going on while this thing shut down a little bit. Let's see what Kenny's doing.
In order to keep a competitive Winston Cup race car team running up front, you have to have a tractor trailer and a rolling inventory of any number of spare parts. Let me show you. Here we are in Rusty Wallace's transporter. Come on in, let me show you around. Right here we have a complete kitchen setup. Comes equipped with microwave oven, coffee maker, support groceries and beverages. Over here, a complete workbench. You notice sitting up here a spring tester. If you'll follow me on back this way, right here in this cabinet, you'll see a complete welding setup for any type of welding needs that they may need during the course of the race. And right back here, whether you've noticed or not, I'm standing under an $80,000 Winston Cup backup car. Look at this thing. It is absolutely hospital clean. You could turn the thing upside down and eat off of it. Check this out. Right here, we have 150 shock absorbers of every possible size you can think of. That's not all. Look at this. Storage for 5 $30,000 Winston Cup motors. But that's not the best thing. Here's my favorite part of the transporter right here. Come on. Okay, here we are in the driver crew lounge, decorated, mind you, with imported lighting from France at $1,500 per light. Here's the latest in video, VCR, color TV. Here we have a race on right there. Over here in this corner, a complete computer terminal, a communication center that keeps the trailer, the crew, in contact with the garage. And you ought to see this thing going down the road. Completely mirror-finished stainless steel. Ken, if you'd like this little setup and all the comforts of home and 2 race cars, cut me a check for about $1 million and I'll get it to you.
I'm sorry, but the only people that can afford those things are those big car owners and those catfish farmers from Alabama.
Well, I tell you, I've turned those cars upside down, and I didn't feel like eating off the bottom of them when I've done it, so I keep mine pretty greasy.
They have really come a long way from the old days we used to stiff hitch to the racetrack.
You know, look at the trailers lined up here. Would you like to have the business selling those things to these guys? Every one of them is loaded and equipped just like the one Ken just showed us, and I mean they can cut a car half in two and put it back together with the parts that are inside that trailer.
Mike Joy at the STP Pit Center.
Well, Ken, we've seen how these cars have gotten more aerodynamic over the last few years, but there's a lot of changes under the skin as well. Here's an important one in the front end steering design. This is the old type Ford idler arm assembly. It has a ball type joint here and a tapered hole for a ball joint, and it's very stiff. I can't even turn it. Here's the new part. It's very finely machined. It has a roller bearing at this end instead of this ball type joint, and a spherical rod end or Heim joint. This thing rolls very freely, and the alignment of this part is very, very precise. Costs about 2.5 times as much. The team say it's worth it.
You can do a lot of things also with that, Mike. That thing has got a different drop areas to change the steering geometry on it. The stock one is a permanent location. That thing there, you can put different links in it and just set the bump steer, how the wheels tow in and out as you go through the corner. So not only is it a stronger piece, it enables you to do a little bit of work on the front geometry of the car.
Let's get back to the racetrack for a moment. 100 laps are complete, 150 miles, and as we get set to go green, Davey Allison would have the lead. Ken Schrader would be in second. Earnhardt third. Gant fourth. Dale Jarrett fifth. Hut Strickland sixth. Michael Waltrip in seventh. Kenny Wallace in eighth. And Neil, those 8 cars are in the lead lap. And as you see out on the field, they aren't up behind the race car. Tucked in behind Elmo Langley in the pace machine is the car number 6 of Mark Martin, and following him is Darrell Waltrip as we get ready to go green here. Those cars are running a lap, not a full lap, but on the tail end of that lead lap, getting set to go again. There's Waltrip, and you see right behind him Tommy Ellis in the Flossie Johnson number 97, and as Rick Wilson, the Stavola car, number 8, is in that group as well. Before you get back to the man who was leading the event, Davey Allison, is coming about after this caution period, second one of the day. 7 different drivers have led the race thus far.
Yeah, and I tell you what it's going to do. These guys here are not going to give up those positions in front of Davey Allison. They're going to try to hold him off. They need to get back in that lead lap. I mean, you fight for about 3 or 4 positions. It goes a long way right now.
Take a look at the money leaders thus far this year. Earnhardt has collected some $426,000 on the Lipton board. Ernie Irvin is second, and when you add that $426 that Earnhardt has collected to the $13 million he's already made, your old fishing buddy's doing real good.
I'm going to make him buy the lures next time we go. He's getting way ahead on this deal.
Kyle Petty, $273,000. Pretty good run on the season thus far. Get down towards about a third of it by.
All right, we need to go down to pits and see what Phil Parsons has for us.
Well, Neil, I'm here with Robert Yates. Robert, you had a bunch of problems this morning, but it looks like they're okay now, huh?
Well, you know, we have, you know, bring a good engine for backups, and we had a little problem with some seals, and it was a new seal. We changed the engine right before the Winston last week and found another piece of it again this week. It wasn't anything problem mechanically with the engine. It would just, you know, cause it to maybe that guide pull a bit of oil. So we decided, hey, we don't want any of those pieces floating around. 600-mile race, use a lot of oil. So we took all the seals off. And then as we're warming the engine up, it used a little bit more oil sitting there than I'd like to see. And you know, if you're in a hunting this race, you just can't stop and put oil in it. And even though Haviland's good oil, it still takes a lot of oil when the seals aren't working good. So, you know, hope everything's going to work out for us.
Thank you, Robert.
Ken, one reason for that concern there is Robert Yates is the car owner, but he also builds all the engines for that car. And I'm sure he had the confidence the motor they stuck in there this morning would be good enough. But they also told us, you know yourself, that he took the intake manifold off of the other engine and put over on this one. So he's got a lot of confidence in certain pieces. He didn't hesitate to put them in and go with it.
Robert Yates, who took over that team from Harry Ranier back in the late 80s, but it was 1988 that he took command. Now, NASCAR's taken a couple of extra laps to try to get this affair sorted out. As we get set it for the start, notice that there's the name of Joe Whitlock on that champion car as we go down. Mickey Gibbs' car, 12 of those cars today are carrying a slight memento, memory of one of the great journalists in the history of this sport, Joe Whitlock, who introduced a lot of us to Southern Stock Car Racing and his writing over the years, and certainly is greatly missed here today. Field getting set for a start. They've doubled them up, and as they did, Mark Martin assumed a position on the inside alongside Waltrip, as if Waltrip were a lap down. And row directly behind them is the number 20, which would be a lap car, Bobby Hillen. And here we go racing, and immediately Mark Martin storms off around Darrell Waltrip. There's the break.
Again, that move that Mark made to the inside was for positioning on the racetrack, I'm sure. Right now, if he can fight for 100 foot of real estate and the caution should come out, he gets a mile and a half free back around, but coming back around on Davey. So Davey's the man they got to be concerned with. This lead group needs to stay in front of Allison to get their lap back.
Now remember, the 28 is your lead car. 28, Davey Allison, being shown in Earnhardt and Harry Gant, all up there in that collection of cars just behind these lap machines. 28 Allison up on the outside, moving around, trying to get himself some running room on Rick Wilson, busting down to the inside. Brett Bodine trying to get out of that pack. Yeah, it looks like the Derby out of the 4th turn. Pretty tight running, and you don't want to get rubbed on the rail here.
No, because the rail will wear your race car out at this place.
3 wide. Whoa, what a ride.
And a little bump from that 3 wide right there.
Lake Speed taking a hit, collects it right up, guns her down to 180 miles an hour, and Richard Petty scoots down to the bottom of the racetrack, takes a spot.
Boy, these guys are scrambling around on this restart right in front of him up there. Ernie Irvin right down the line and somebody up under the, completely under the line under him. So they're mixing it up right now.
From the Trop Arctic card, watching Richard Petty in the STP car just in front. Richard is making his 30th start. That ties Buddy Baker for the most number of starts in this event. There's Bobby Hamilton up on the outside, the lime green number 68. We'll look from this side.
Ken, when we talked about discipline at the start of this race, using your head, here's a situation of Davey Allison having the strongest car on the racetrack, but yet he's got to be careful now with these lap cars, working his way back. He can be a little bit more cautious than normal because he knows what kind of car he's got under him. He's just got to use his head, get around these lap cars. The car's got plenty of potential to go back out front.
Around Joe Ruttman in the 75, around Tommy Ellis in the 97, moves Davey Allison, seeking victory in the 600.
He's leading the race, but he's having to work a lot of traffic to do it.
Here's Ken Schrader trying to move around that lap traffic, and they've got him in the box right now.
Yeah, and that's not where you want to be here, because you'd like to be able to drive in, let the car slide up, be able to drive low. When you have to start running a different line, it's hard to make the race car work in those areas.
But remember, we're at lap 107 of 400, just 160.5 miles deep into the Coca-Cola 600. For $960,000, they're charging on this 90-degree day under blue skies in North Carolina. And Davey Allison, for the moment, is in command of the event. He sorts himself out through lap traffic in the Robert Yates Ford. Davey Allison, who had a 5th place finish here in '88. This is his 5th start in the event. First time here was in '87. He had an engine failure very late in the event. And in 1989, he wasn't around at the finish. This afternoon, looks like he's ready to pick up right where he left off a weekend ago when he took that $325,000 home to Hueytown, Alabama. Here comes Schrader in the 25. Remember, he's shown in 2nd spot for the Rick Hendricks stable. Earnhardt is in 3rd, Gant 4th, Dale Jarrett 5th. On that sort out after the caution.
And Ken, it just happened to be at the worst time it could happen for that caution to come out, because we were right in the middle of pit, guys making normal pit stops, the leaders just getting through, one guy stretching long mileage, and it's got the field in a big mess right now. Look at this whole group of cars. Dale Earnhardt is running 3rd, and he's got 15 cars between him. So right now everything is all mixed up. It's going to take a while to get it level back out.
110 laps are now complete. No mix-up on the leader, however. Allison, Schrader 2nd, nor Earnhardt in 3rd. There's the 5 car, which is being shown down. Scoring is showing that 5 car as down at this point, Neil.
I wouldn't write it on a rock right now, Ken. And all this stuff is right, because, like I say, it happened at a very critical time, and we might still have some adjustments on that scoring.
Well, they're showing that 5 car back in 17th position, Ricky Rudd. That's from NASCAR scoring on its latest update. We average 137 miles an hour after we have experienced 2 cautions thus far on the day. Total of 16 laps under yellow, and many of those laps to sort this field out. Coca-Cola 600, where Allison and Ford, Schrader and Earnhardt and Chevrolet hold down the top 3 spots. More shortly. Laps, 172.5 miles are complete in the 32nd running of the Coca-Cola 600. Looks like an Earnhardt fan there and company as we get ready for more racing action. Let's go down to the Goodyear Eagle Racing Update with Mike Joy.
Thank you, Ken. Here's our first update for the day. Racing action around America. Yesterday, NASCAR's new sportsman division got a workout here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Bad crash as Ed Gartner spins in the red car of Tom Deet. The hydroplane champion piles in. 2 other cars wrecked, and Deet there in the upper right corner of the screen went to the hospital, reported to have a broken neck. Robert Huffman, the race winner in a Chevrolet. Dennis Setzer's Ford finishes up in 2nd spot. Then Jimmy Sharp in a Chevy, Robbie Faggart, and Marty Ward. The greatest race in the history of spring is what they call the Spring Sizzler up at Stafford, Connecticut. Rained out in April. They ran it on Friday night. Here's a look at World of Outlaws action, though, from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Sammy Swindell taking the early lead. Steve Kinzer. You'll see Kinzer in the white number 11. Dive inside Swindell. Underneath and gone. Kinzer went on to win it in Pennsylvania on the World of Outlaws. That spring sizzler we mentioned, Jeff Fuller, the race winner. Wayne Anderson, second. George Brunholzl, third. Point leader Mike Stefanik finished up in the 6th spot. He holds the point lead over Rick Fuller and Doug Hebron. At Indianapolis, they're running the famed 500. Michael Andretti is in the lead. We'll have a full update for you later in today's telecast. Back to Ken Squire.
What do you mean we missed the big story?
Ken, I tell you, Mike Joy's doing a great job, but David Bonnet won on Friday night in Birmingham, and I can't believe he missed that.
Nepotism is everywhere. Look at this struggle. Here's the number 3. That's Earnhardt moving under Sterling Marlin, under Kowicki, and Harry Gant coming with him. Now remember, as scoring has it, Allison is first, Schrader is second, Earnhardt is third, Gant is fourth. So the battle is the 3 car and the 33 car in this mix.
Let's put an if there. If everything's just right on scoring, which right now is still questionable. We'll just have to see how that works out. But they've certainly got a group of cars mixed up here.
Well, they took an extra 4 or 5 laps to sort it out. I'm wondering what the opinion of Waddell Wilson would be about it with Ricky Rudd in number 5. They were one of the cars that was right on the fulcrum in this teeter board as far as the scoring is concerned. We'll try to get that story for you. Joe Rutland going a lap down as the car number 3 scoots through. Davey Allison stays first, Schrader second, Ford, Chevy, Oldsmobile, Ford, top 5 on the leaderboard at the present time here in the Coca-Cola 600. 120 laps have been completed. Davey Allison looking very strong. I understand that the manifold they used, the intake manifold, was the same as was on the old engine.
Ken, a lot of times the engine builder like Yates did, that manifold probably showed him good numbers on any motor he put it on. This morning when they had to make the change, they went in the truck, got that intake off another motor, put it right back on the one that's in the car. So that's his favorite, and I can see why it is a favorite from what it's doing.
Davey Allison leading with a motor that was just slugged in the car this morning about 9:30. Let's go to Dick Berggren on pit road.
I'm with Waddell Wilson. Scoring is showing your car a lap down. Do you see it as a lap down?
Well, when the caution came out to 25 with the leader, came down pit road, and then whenever they got all the cars caught up, they let a group of us pass the pace car, which I felt give us a lap back, but they say no.
That's the story, so Waddell Wilson agrees his car is a lap down according to NASCAR scoring.
The 94 car working. That's Terry Labonte on the bottom of the racetrack. That's the fight for 19th position as their score. In 19th is number 5. Trying to do the takeaway is car number 94. That Billy Hagan team, they've had their problems this year. Here's your leader, Davey Allison. Winners coming off the season championship season. Coming in here and winning. Richard Petty did it. Won here in 75. Bobby Allison has pulled that off. Rusty Wallace, he's tried it and done it. So now, we get down on this one. The issue is, will Earnhardt be around at the end of this affair?
Well, it's going to be tougher. As hot as it is out there, it might not be the driver that dictates if he's there or not. It's going to be rough on the equipment when we get further into this race with the weather we're dealing with.
Last lap was 164.2 miles an hour in live coverage. 164 is a pretty good clip on a day like this. Still early in the going. 124 laps complete. 186 miles.
Yeah, and Davey is right now coming up on Mark Martin. Dale's running fast laps there. Davey's out in front of him, and he's gaining on Mark Martin. Mark's battling to keep that lap back, and I think that's one reason we're seeing such big numbers right now.
We're riding with Davey Allison around the 1.5 mile Charlotte Motor Speedway.
And that set of wheels you see in front is Mark Martin, and he's spinning them. He doesn't want Davey to catch him because right now he's where he wants to be, just in front of Davey in case they have a caution. And if Davey gets around him, he's going to be a lap down if he can get around him. I'm looking under the mirror there. I can't see under the mirror real good. You can't?
Tough on those banks. Tough right here in the straightaway. There's the interval. Mark Martin's number 6 now shown on the tail end of the lead lap. And we're showing 9 cars in the lead lap. 9th place car is Martin. Just to review for you, those top 9. Davey Allison first, Schrader second, Earnhardt third, Gant fourth, Dale Jarrett fifth, Michael Waltrip 6th, Hut Strickland 7th, Kenny Wallace 8th, Mark Martin 9th. A lap down in 10th is Darrell Waltrip. Hillens in 11th, Ernie Irvins in 12th, Rusty Wallace in 13th, Brett Bodine in 14th, and Alan Kowicki 15th on the field. Again, 9 cars up in front after that lengthy pit stop, and things getting a bit confused when Schrader came on pit road just as they threw the caution.
Ken, all through the course of a race like this, especially 600 miles, things will make you do things that you don't normally want to do. Here's Davey now. He's got a big lead on the second place guy, but he looks out his front window and says, hey, here's Mark Martin, the guy that sat on the pole. If I work this car just a little bit harder, can get him a lap down, it'll be worth it. Okay, say he gets up there and he passes him. Then he's got to run hard to stay. Here he is just 128 laps into this race and running the car very, very hard. But there's usually a reason for it. Right now, he's concerned with getting Mark Martin back down.
Well, with that caution period, what was a dandy scramble up in front is now a very stabilized race. Allison in front, and it looks like better than 5 seconds back to the second place man, Dale Earnhardt on the track, and we'll check the interval for you. Onto the pit road comes Eddie Bierschwale in number 23. 130 laps complete this time by. That interval is shown as about 4 seconds between Allison and Earnhardt. And mixed in, that's between Allison and Schrader, and is about 6 seconds back to Earnhardt. They're showing Allison first, and we'll run you down through the field so you know where they are. There's Davey Allison in the 28, and we'll show Schrader in number 25 as the second place car. Here he is in second place. That's 3 and 6 tenths. Then further back is Earnhardt in third. Equidistant back to him from car number 25. So those leaders are well separated.
Yeah, and one thing that got that going like that, Ken, is we had so many lap cars and the confusion in between the first, second, third place guys with the top 5, and it's just taking them a while to work around. And when they did, Davey had clear track. Once he cleared the other guys, he's moved on out.
Joe Ruttman has come from 35th up into the 17th position, as Ruttman's having a pretty good day, and he is being shown as just 1 lap down. And the other one that's made a big move has been Bobby Hillin, who started 31st on the day and now finds himself in 12th. Here's Harry Gant in car number 33 wheeling by. Gant, remember, is in 4th position. He started his career here back in 1973 in the 600. Coming down, Davey Allison's car number 20. Coming down to the lap, the number 6 of Mark Martin at the Indianapolis 500, Emerson Fittipaldi. For the moment, has the advantage over Michael Andretti. They were reporting Michael leading earlier. Now Emerson, former winner of the event, is back in front. Here's Davey Allison trying to go around on the outside, and does, getting a lap on Mark Martin, setting him 1 down. Martin stays 9th, but now a lap down. Look at Hut Strickland in the number 12. Remember, he's in 7th position. The 42 of Kenny Wallace is being shown for the moment in 8th. And here's Hut Strickland. He's now in front of number 30, Michael Waltrip. Hut Strickland and Michael Waltrip coming right back on him another time. That's a fight for 6th spot. Hut Strickland in the number 12 and number 30, Michael Waltrip. For 6. Michael has it for the moment and moves down to the inside to pull a lap on Sterling Marlin, who they have scored in 19th position, Neil.
Yeah, you know, Mikey told us he was going to really use his head today, and like I say, I've seen him mature more this week than in a long time, and I'm not so sure there's a lot of race car left in that 30. Maybe he's just going to pace himself good.
You saw Mark Martin get back around Davey Allison or under him, and now Allison drives away as they move down the backstretch, putting a lap on Stanley Smith out of Alabama. The big story is Mark Martin's car staying 1 lap down to the leader, leaving 8 cars up in front with 134 of 400 laps complete. 201 miles now in the record book in this 32nd running of the Coca-Cola 600.
Ken, this is one of the most temperamental tracks, and it's starting to get shady up here.
Davey Allison in first. Drives to the shade at the present time. Ken Schrader finds himself second. And Dale Earnhardt trying to charge back into the thing is third. Harry Gant having a very good day in fourth. Dale Jarrett doing an outstanding job in fifth. More from the Coca-Cola 600 shortly.
At the Charlotte Motor Speedway, 140 of 400 laps in the books. Davey Allison still trying Ken Schrader, Harry Gant in hot pursuit. Now that you're back from the refrigerator, stop by the telephone, call the Right Guard folks, and register for the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. 1-900-737-1100. Remember, it costs 95 cents per call. You only need to call once to register. And after the halfway point, when one driver can pick up 10 grand, we'll tell you who he is. And if you know when your phone rings and it's the Gillette people, you'll get the keys to a new Pontiac Grand Prix SE. So call in now, get yourself registered, or you can mail in and register for future contests. The next one is at Sears Point. Ken Squire.
Thank you, Mike. 141 laps now complete. 211 miles down. Davey Allison is the leader. 8 cars are in the lead lap. Ken Schrader's in second. Earnhardt's in third. Gant is in fourth. Jarrett fifth. Hut Strickland sixth. Michael Waltrip seventh. And Kenny Wallace for the moment in eighth. And they are the players early in the going after a pit stop. Just as the caution was coming out, somewhat mixed the field, Neil. Don't you think some other owners down there may be a little concerned about this?
Well, I'm sure they're questioning it. You know, there's a big scramble in the pits. Everybody's trying to find out what happened, and maybe we can get it sorted out and get a little more insight on what's going on with some of the other crews.
Here's Michael Waltrip, who's running in seventh, and this car may have an issue. Let's find out from Phil Parsons.
Yeah, I'm here with Billy Engel, Michael Waltrip's crew chief. Billy, it looks like the car has slowed down a little bit. Are you having problems?
Yeah, Michael come on the radio and he thinks something happened to the engine. I was just listening here and it sounds like it may have collapsed the valve spring or something.
You're just going to try to ride it out to the end if you can?
Yeah, right now. We'll just see how it goes.
Tough break for Michael Waltrip. Qualified on the outside pole.
Michael Waltrip still trying to win that first Winston Cup, and he was as high as a kite all week. Thought this was going to be it. And many of us thought so too. That team has come so far. Engine development with Ken Wilson. Billy Engel is the crew chief. They look very stout out here in the Winston Open a week ago and looked good in the Winston. They could have been a real contender, but that they had a tire a little out around in that final 20-lap sprint. But today,
you know, Chuck Ryder and his family are some of the nicest people in that garage area, and I think sentimental favorite to win a race real soon.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryder, Pat Ryder, both here today in one of those condos, watching and hoping to see their colors go up as a winner for the first time. And apparently they're developing a motor problem which doesn't sound good.
Now, the part that doesn't sound good about it, Ken, is we're talking about a 600-mile race, and if it's got a valve spring broken on it, it'll be lucky if it can run the rest of the day without swallowing that valve.
The 22 car that you saw in the frame was Sterling Marlin back in 26 as he got sorted out on the back end of that lap situation. Davey Allison stays first, Ken Schrader second, and Davey's just having a remarkable run at the present time. Davey, what's it like driving here on this 1.5 mile Charlotte Motor Speedway?
Well, it's got 4 different corners, and you have to drive them differently, but with the right kind of work and the right kind of feel, you can get what you need. We showed that last weekend in the Winston.
He sure did.
It kind of looks like we're looking at a replay here, him out front just strolling away from everybody. And if you hit on something like him, the best thing to do, jack it up and don't do a lot of work to it. And they didn't. That car is virtually like it was when they ran the Winston a week ago.
Looking for the 9th Winston Cup win is Davey Allison in this car number 28. He's already collected some $3 million in his career, and he can go home with a pretty fat paycheck from that $960,000 on the table this afternoon. Incidentally, his grandfather, who started him racing, was part of the Peach Fuzz gang. He's out of the hospital. He's watching the race at home today, and we hope that Pop Allison is feeling well.
Oh, we sure do. I'll tell you, he's been through a lot lately. He's a strong man, and hopefully he can get over all this and get back to these racetracks with us.
He sure wants to be back as his grandson thunders along with a lead that he is building on at the present time over Ken Schrader. Ford, Chevy, Oldsmobile, 1, 2, 3, 4. Allison, Schrader, Earnhardt, and Gant as Davey Allison leaves them for the moment, just draws away out here.
Yeah, and that was a look inside the car with that space age looking helmet on it. You couldn't see his face, but there's got to be a big smile at the way that thing's running.
But he knows that at 148 laps, 222 miles, there's still a lot of trucking to be done here this afternoon.
There's a long way to go, but boy, it sure is nice the way things are going now. He can live with those others who looks this optimistic.
The Haviland in-car camera giving us these pictures of Davey Allison at work on this Memorial weekend from the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the running of the Coca-Cola 600. Allison doing exactly what he did a week ago, getting right down to the bottom of the racetrack, dominating the event, drawing away from the field, making everyone else concerned about just how much Robert Yates has turned that motor up for 600 miles. So 150 miles, 150 laps, 225 miles are now down on Allison in the car number 28. Most laps led in one of these events was Jim Pascal. Back in 1967, of the 400 laps, Pascal led 335. They'd like to work on that record today, and that's just what he's doing as we look at the relationship back to second spot and Ken Schrader. And that's a long haul back to second position this early in the going. Here's Kenny Schrader in the Hendrick car, number 25, in second spot. Further back is Dale Earnhardt in the number 3. Should be in this group right coming on.
Ken, what's frustrating at this time is I'm sure Schrader's getting time calls from the pits on how much the interval is, and when you're running as hard as you can go and the guy's still pulling away, it's tough.
Following Dale Earnhardt in the number 3 car is Harry Gant at number 33, and look at the interval here. Field really spaced out around this mile-and-a-half track. After Gant in the 33 would be Hut Strickland in the Allison car, the number 12, and there's some lap cars in between, Alan Kawicki and Richard Petty coming by. Morgan Shepherd in 94. So that there's really a lot of separation in this lead lap. Not much to write home about at this time, Neil.
No, 600-mile race is a long way before when you get strung out like this. It's tough to sit there and maintain the kind of concentration you need to do in that race car. You just have to pick you one car at a time and try to work your way to him.
But for Hut Strickland, who started in the 30th position today and now is in 5th, he's as happy as can be. Having a very good run. Dale Jarrett's number 21 is in the 6th position. Started in 12th, and here's Dale crossing the line. Puts 153 laps down.
Okay, Ken, that's good to see those guys run well. That's the 3rd car they've had here in 2 weeks, and Dale's doing a good job. Fran Britton out at Citgo, I guarantee you one of the biggest race fans in the world. She's jumping up and down. Dale's putting in a good run for him today.
Michael Waltrip and then Kenny Wallace round out those cars in the lead lap. It's the Coca-Cola 600. Davey Allison building on a heaping lead at the present time. Let's see if he can keep it. We're back with you again at the Coca-Cola 600. 158 laps are down, and the race is going to be calmed at the present time. Davey Allison is in control. Schrader's in 2nd. Earnhardt's in 3rd. While 4th spot belongs to Harry Gant. Hut Strickland's 5th. Dale Jarrett is 6th. 8 cars lead in that front lap, and then after that, further back, Mark Martin is now 9th. Darrell Waltrip 10th. Rusty Wallace 11th, and Ernie Irvin is in 12th. And I believe the 4 car is a little upset about its placement on the track after that caution. We're trying to get a word with Tony Glover, the crew chief, and see how he feels about that as we move along. For the moment, Ken Stabler is down there. He's found some real race fans out here today. Let's see what the story is.
Well, Ken, anybody that thinks that stock car racing is just a man's sport, I've got some people here that'll disagree with that. Who you yelling for, dear?
Dale Earnhardt. Richard Petty.
Who you yelling for?
Schrader.
What do we all think about stock car racing?
Leave it to Stabler to find the chorus, the Rockettes out there today. Here's Mark Martin's number 6 in, and here comes the number 3 as well. Rusty Wallace's car 2 pulling onto pit road is coming at lap 160. Wallace's car 2 thrown out of kilter with the field. Number 30, Michael Waltrip coming in. Earnhardt scampers back onto the track. Darrell Waltrip's car in. He stops coming under green at lap 161. Morgan Shepherd is in. Brett Bodine elects to try the pit road at this time. There's Michael Waltrip's number 30. Started out with high hopes and anything but that right now, as the report is the engine is amiss in that car and the leader. Here's Davey Allison on pit road. Fuel and tires. Bernie Urban's car coming in. Harry Gant's number 33, and Schrader now takes the lead under this pitting situation. Here comes Davey Allison back out. You saw the time on it. Speed going up. 8 lead changes among 6 drivers with only 2 cautions thus far in the 600. Here's the number 33 being worked on. Gant, a real player in this event to win it all today.
Ken, when we talk about parity in Winston Cup racing, it looks like everybody uses about the same amount of fuel. There's usually just 2 or 3 of these guys can really stretch it.
Let's just watch what happened in the pit a moment ago as Gant comes in, hit a tire that was left out there and knocked down one of his men.
You can see what he had on his mind, getting right on around there and changing that right rear tire.
Never missed a beat.
No, and if you'll look, he was the same time with the guy on the right front. He just kept going. That was one of Davies' tires that Gant clipped, and it just knocked the guy's leg right out from under him.
Those guys on pit road, they do so much to these days to assist them and try to make it safer. But when you're running race cars at the speeds that they run, and when you have those guys working out there on a hot day like this, things can happen. Luckily, that was not a more serious incident than what we just saw.
Ken, in that tire assembly right there with the inner and outer tire weighs about 80 pounds, and it knocked him over. You could tell it had some weight in it. Luckily, he didn't get hurt.
That was probably the crew chief himself, Andy Petrie, out there. Right rear tire changer on the car. Ken Schrader, number 25, for the moment, has the lead at the pit.
Can't believe that was Andy Petrie, and boy, he did a nice job of getting up and running right out to get that flat tire, or that tire change, get a fresh one on, because Harry Gant's racing for more than just a portion of this purse today. He and Ernie Irvin are the only 2 drivers that can cash that $1 million bonus for winning 3 of the big 4, and one or the other of them has to win today to be in position for that bonus pool, and Andy Petrie was not going to slip and fall down and let $1 million run away from him.
We always get to vote for the pit crew. Guys, I'm going to give him a 9 on the dive right there myself.
Showing 2 cars in the lead lap after this caution, or rather after this pit period under green. Schrader comes across first, and Kenny Wallace in the Felix Sabetta's car number 42 is now in second.
And Kenny Schrader is the guy that really stretched his fuel earlier, and that's when the confusion came in. He went so many laps beyond. He was actually turning down pit road when that caution came out, and here's Schrader again stretching the mileage further than anyone.
Randy Dorton power plant getting the job done here for Ken Schrader. And here's Sterling Marlin getting back a lap. Schrader's tires a little raggedy out there, and so for that matter, the car number 6, Mark Martin, coming out of that corner a little loose.
Ken, when you have a lot of horsepower like Ken Schrader does with those Hendricks motor, you usually don't get the best of 2 worlds, fuel mileage and power. He seems to have it both today.
Let's go down to the Andy Petrie pits right now.
Well, we're going right down to Andy Petrie. We're going right down to Andy Petrie. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Harry just caught a straight tire off that 28 car. He shot it into me as I was coming across the wall, but it was no problem.
His uniform's tore up a little bit. He's got a little tire mark on it, but Andy Petrie's smiling, and he's okay.
Get hit by one of those tires, you get hit by a lot of weight.
Ken, the only time I ever pitted a race car, I pitted one for Johnny Rutherford when he drove a Dygard car one time, and I was a jack man, and somebody knocked the wrench out of my back pocket. I was going to put wedge in it, and that was my one and only time over the wall. I quit after one stop. I wouldn't get over there. They paid $100 grand a race.
Andy Petrie ready for the next pit stop after he got nailed by a tire out there just moments ago. But he keeps car number 33 among the top 10. Here's Lake Speed in the number 66, running outside the top 10 in the Phillips 66 Trop Arctic car, but having a good day. We'll give you a rundown after we've had another period of pit stops under green with 170 laps complete. Get them sorted out for you here.
Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Coca-Cola 600. We saw Kenny Wallace give up the lead. He's driving the Felix Savati's car for injured Kyle Petty. That'll put Davey Allison back out in front ahead of Dale Earnhardt. Ricky Rudd now posted as the third-place car, and Harry Gant. Just about 25 laps to the right guard halfway challenge. Some driver may pick up $10,000, and you, if you answer the phone with his name, may win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE. Here's the last chance. We'll show you the 900 number to call. Remember, that call costs 95 cents to register. Then wait by your phone after the halfway point, and you could win the keys to that car. Ken Squire?
All right, there is a bit of confusion at 175 laps as to the scoring. And car number 5, Ricky Rudd, has been shown up in the lead lap once again. They're now showing after number 25, Schrader, pitted. That put Kenny Wallace in the lead for the first time in a Winston Cup career. Done some great leading in Grand National, but he put the 42 up. After he came in, that put us 9 cars in the lead lap. And it had Allison, Earnhardt, Schrader, the first 3, Gant, Strickland, Jarrett. And they were also showing at that time the Ricky Rudd car in that lead lap. Now they pulled him out again, dropped him back a lap.
I think that's where there might be some confusion, because every now and then on the official scoring we see him pop up there and we see him pop out, and it might take the next caution flag they have, if they have one, they might have to do some more sorting out. We've just got to see what happens to this. Well,
it's showing Kenny Wallace as a lap down, now in 7th position after he was leading just moments ago. Kenny, has Rusty given you any good advice for winning the Winston Cup? Davey Allison, the leader, is slowing, and there's a caution on the track. Davey Allison, the leader, coming out of turn number 2, easing off. There may be some debris out there, as he really came out of the throttle, and yellow came out for the 3rd time this afternoon.
Ken, it looked like there was something wrong with Davey's car. It happened so quick, but I guess he just slowed down for the caution. And now he's trying to race Mark Martin back to the line to keep him a lap down.
He may have him as they come to the stripe. Oh no, that's pretty close. Let's see how they score it. Mark Martin gave it a little shot just at the line there.
It's going to be close. They might have to get that last lap camera out and take a look at that, because it is that critical right now, getting a lap back.
But it was far from the last lap. It was lap 178, 267 miles. Look at it again here.
We can see how close it was. Here, Davey's on the outside. The cut across the shortness of the inside of the track might be the difference. But coming across the line right there, Mark looks like Mark beat him back just because he had the inside part of the dog leg through there.
So that would give us 7 cars in the lead lap. Davey Allison really stepping off the throttle, as there was something amiss on the 1.5-mile course here at Charlotte.
It's nice when you get 2 foot back and you end up getting 1.5 miles for it.
Yellow is out.
And Ken, they do run that, it's not a photo finish camera, it's actually a high-speed video camera. They run it on caution flags and on the last lap of the race. 2 NASCAR officials are down there just behind the pit road running it across from the start-finish line, so they will be able to sort that out with certainty. But it appears that Davey Spotter up on the roof radioed to him the caution was out, and he backed it out. So as the leaders pit under caution in the Coca-Cola 600, we approach the halfway point. We'll be back to Charlotte right after this.
In the 32nd running of the Coca-Cola 600, we're at the 181 lap mark. We're under caution for only the 3rd time today. 271 miles have been completed here this afternoon in the event. Neil, we saw number 6 come to the line, and Joe Ruttman's car is off in the back straightaway being picked up on the hook. It had come down on the inside, and they have brought out the wrecker to bring him back in, hence our caution period at this time. The 6 car came to the line, but they're still showing him a lap down.
Well, it looked, Ken, on our camera, from our angle, that he had got the lap back. Now, like Mike Joy said, they've got another camera mounted in the infield taking a look at that, and it certainly looked like he beat Davey back on our camera.
Looks like 75. Joe Ruttman did have himself a problem out there, and that's why we saw Davey lift so dramatically coming out of turn 2.
And that's the 2nd time we've seen one of those cars. In practice last week, Rich Bach and the guys lost a car like that with Alan Grice when a steering wheel came loose and came off. He didn't put the pin in, it just fell off, and they destroyed a car on the back straightaway, and it looks like the 2nd one they've got this week.
Take a look at the top 6 here. Schrader first, Earnhardt is 2nd, Allison is 3rd. Going 4th is Harry Gant, 5th is Dale Jarrett, and 6th is Hutch Strickland, all in that lead lap. There's Kenny Wallace trying to push his way in and get ready for a go.
Yeah, and they're going back 1 to go, and if you think there's not a little bit of confusion, you can see these guys battling their self to try to get themselves in position up there. They want to know where they're going to start this race. There's a little bit of confusion right there now, and these guys are going to root around and try to get where they want to be personally to start this race. Schrader's going to be out front with Dale Earnhardt right behind him. The lap cars are to the inside right here.
Has Rusty Wallace given Kenny Wallace any good advice for winning the Winston Cup races this year?
I think the best advice Rusty's given me since I've got this ride is not to try to over-engineer myself. I'm kind of used to working, you know, with Steve Bird, my Grand National crew chief, trying to, you know, say things to him, you know, what I think we need to do. And, you know, Gary Nelson and the boys are pretty smart, so whatever they're going to do is pretty well going to be the right move. And I think Rusty just wants me to sit there and tell him what the car is doing, you know, and take all this with a grain of salt and don't get too excited over it.
Kenny Wallace doing a grand job today, currently running in 8th position. One lap down. Up in front, it's Schrader and Earnhardt. And with his caution, they're back together. Remember that Martin is being shown a lap down. Didn't look like it from where we sat, but from where that right on the line, right over the line, they had it as 28, containing number 6 and keeping that lap back.
In case the people are wondering how Davey came in first and came out in 3rd place behind these two guys, they jacked Davey's car up the chain right side, and the car fell off the jack before they ever got the tires off. So he came out a little bit behind these guys.
Yeah, Neil and Ken, the reason Mark Martin is still a lap down, I talked to Steve Meal. I said, didn't you guys beat him back at the line? He said, we actually had got the caution a lap before, so that really didn't count. He just had to stay behind him, so he's still a lap down. So that big run to the line was for naught. And he's still back there out of that first lap. Car number 6, Mark Martin, trying to get his way back into the thing. Schrader stays first. Here's Earnhardt in 2nd, and Davey Allison closing in 3rd. A little further back, Harry Gantz 4th, and Jarrett is in 5th. Up at Indianapolis, Michael Andretti back around Fittipaldi for the lead, and Rick Mears is 3rd. For the moment, Schrader draws away.
Yeah, he's getting him a little breathing room, and he's going to need it because Davey Allison is really working on the back bumper of Dale, and if he gets around him, he'll be working on Schrader in just a few laps. I think Davies is really, really stout today.
But so is Schrader. He has looked good all day. Hasn't shown much here, but he's getting ready to pass muster right now. Leading by 10 car lengths with 186 laps complete. Here's Dick Berggren.
I'm with Richard Childress. Richard, is your driver going to try for the halfway money?
Well, we were, but he hadn't said much since he fell off with Schrader. We're just going to see how it does.
What are you going to do in the second half of the race? What's your plan?
Well, we've been holding back some sticker tires. We've been using scuffs early, and as the racetrack gets slicker, we're planning on trying some sticker tires. See how they do the last part.
Can you do anything with Davey?
He's pretty strong, I'll tell you.
Didn't say who's going to win it, however. He is strong. There you see him, the 28, closing up on Richard Childress's car number 3. Allison to the outside in turn 4. Schrader's been here on 7 previous occasions in the 600. Had a 3rd place finish a couple of years ago. Here's Davey Allison winging it, trying to get that outside, and Earnhardt just nails it.
Yeah, that top side is a tough way to do it, and he's just sticking it out there, and he's going to give it a try. He knows the inside will be hard to take away from somebody like Dale Earnhardt, so he's going to have to try that outside a lap or 2.
Here he is plunging down into turn 3, where he says you pull your belts down, get your eyes as big as silver dollars, and go for it. Right there in front of Davey Allison.
He's got his eyes looking at what he wants to look at now, the lead. He's able to pull up on Dale down these straightaways. That thing of Yates is really making some horsepower.
So for that matter is the Eddie Lanier engine in Dale Earnhardt's number 3. And look at Davey Allison crowd right down to the bottom of the racetrack and try to explode down the back straightaway for the slot. That's for 2nd place. This is lap 190 they're working, and it's Davey Allison putting the Ford in between 2 Chevys, Schrader and Earnhardt. Nice move by Davey.
Yep.
The car does work on the bottom, even though it's getting a little soiled, a little greasy down there in the bottom. That thing's stuck in there and stayed.
That's twofold when you start trying to pass on the outside. Davey tried it out there, and then Dale gets thinking outside some too, and then Davey sticks that thing under the bottom going under. So it's twofold. You try and test a different area of the racetrack, plus you get the competitor thinking the other side of the car.
So now the question is, can Davey Allison chase down Kenny Schrader? Let's see what's going to happen as we move toward the midway point. is having just a remarkable day in the first half of this event. Getting down to 200 laps. We're at 191 now. 200 laps marking the 300-mile and the halfway margin of the race. 6 cars in the lead lap. Now in 7th is number 42 Wallace, and in 8th is Ricky Rudd, while 9th is Rusty Wallace, 10th is Mark Martin, 11th is Ernie Urban, in 12th is Alan Kawicki, 13th is Richard Petty, Terry Labonte is in 15th.
We've got 8 laps to the halfway money. Schrader's wanting to stay out there. Davy's really nipping away at the thing, so there's a lot of money up for grabs at halfway.
Do you really let that get in your mind that there's a big halfway deal, or you don't want to get caught on that kind of stuff, do you?
Well, if you're a racer, you race, and right now the next race is to beat somebody to the halfway point and win that segment. So I'm sure that that's on their mind. You heard Childers, Earnhardt thought about it. He couldn't handle it. Now Davy's jumping around here, and he's going to see if he gets Schrader.
Indeed he is. He's closing to within 1 car length. Chevy Ford battle for halfway marks. Dave Marcus in the 71, who's been here in so many of these races. One of the nicest people in the sport. Marcus, originally out of Wisconsin. Whoa, Schrader a little loose up there in 2. He grabbed himself a big mittful to get that one back under control. Here he is coming through 3, and Davey Allison closing as they battle for honors at the midway mark in the Coca-Cola's 600 32nd Annual American Classic.
You know, he can reel Schrader in. He got real close a couple of times, and Davey ran up on a lap car on the inside there and cost him a little bit of position, but he still seems to be, when he has to do it, that he can reel some of these guys in, but there's not about 5 laps to go for halfway, and I think we'll see how strong he is, or if Schrader has got the strength to stay there. Closer just a few laps ago. As you can see right now, when he was leading the race a while ago, he was just sitting like he was on a Sunday drive. He's hustling right now. He's really working the wheel. Schrader's set a pretty good pace for him right now. Davy's really working his car to try to run him down.
And look at Dave Marcus is sticking right in there. He's driving his own line. He's always aware where the other people are and doesn't get in the way. But Dave Marcus is giving it a good shot in car number 71. Marcus being shown in 27th position at this point.
I'm sure Davey really needs to get up there. He won $325,000 last week in halfway money, so I might as well try for some of that too.
But for the moment, it was like someone stung Ken Schrader. He just dove off.
Schrader figures he can get that Williams flag on the short track. As much as he likes to race, he'll just put that money on a short track car somewhere.
I think we should remind him that in the 31 previous races, only 9 drivers have led halfway and won the race, Neil.
I don't think that enters into it when they see money in front of them.
Here's Davey Allison closing in again. 197 laps now complete. Mickey Gibbs in the car number 24 has just pitted for the Barry Dotson team and come back out. Here's Allison closing in. Mickey Gibbs is running 26 at this point. Coming around to complete 198, moving toward the halfway mark in the Coca-Cola 600. Schrader in front and Davey Allison back to the rest. 3 or 4 laps, and now he's hot on the assault, trying to take that number 25 down a peg, and he's trying the outside line.
Again, this is the very same move we saw him put on Dale Earnhardt. Tried him outside that lap. Let's see if Davey goes back to the inside the next lap. He set Dale up outside one lap. The next lap he tries inside. Let's see if he can work the same deal with Schrader.
But you've got some ponds, some checkers on the inside blocking there. It isn't quite the same. See Joe Ruttman's car right in front of him.
This would be the time right here going in this corner. I would think Davey would try it inside. That's where it worked a while ago.
He's got one more lap to do it to the halfway mark.
Schrader's strong, though. He's got just enough lead on to be tough.
Back straightaway of lap 199. Here's Allison swinging to the bottom of the racetrack, going into turn number 3, and Schrader pinches it right down there, drives it in hard, fades up just a bit. Allison closes, inches along, perching on the rear bumper. Here they come to the midway mark, and it'll be Chevrolet first, Ford second, halfway in the Coca-Cola 600. So Schrader pockets some extra dollars. Earnhardt stays third. Harry Gant fourth. Hutch Strickland's back there in fifth, and Dale Jarrett in sixth. And now Davey Allison gets that bottom run. Schrader says, okay, if you want it now, that's all right.
Does that answer the question? Was he concerned about halfway? He said, okay, we're halfway. Let's ride for a while now. But when you start riding, this little black thing starts nipping on your bumper. Yeah, be careful.
That's right. Next major meal to be served at 400 laps. I wonder who'll be sitting at the head of the table then. Earnhardt looking good, and I'll tell you who else looks good, Neil, as Schrader fades up the track a bit. Here comes Davey diving right down through. Harry Gant is running stout, running back there in fourth spot at number 33. Not doing anything exciting, not doing anything dramatic. He's 51 years old, just takes it easy, gets the job done.
And I tell you what, he's sitting there where he can see the leaders. You know, he hasn't been in jeopardy of getting lapped all day long. The car sits there and sits there, and Harry's the kind of guy that when he gets ready, he'll let you know. He'll move on up there, but he seems to be content just to keep the leaders in sight right now.
Allison in first, Earnhardt in second, and Schrader drops to third. That's Allison in the lead. And you see Earnhardt's number 3. Schrader in the 25. 1, 2, and 3. Schrader willing to settle back into third position after leading at halfway. Going to be a great finish to the Coca-Cola 600. Stay with us. In lap 206, Alan Kawicki out of control in turn 3 just moments ago has slapped the outside wall and has brought out the 4th caution of the day. Let's look at it again.
Ken, when we pick him up, he's already sideways. He's fixing to really back it up in the wall. The car takes a lick, it caves the rear end so bad it's going to be hard to fix at it. Knocked the whole left rear section in the car. Luckily, came down and missed everyone right here. It's good driving by the guys on the inside, right, coming through the grass and everywhere. But this track will sweep the car down off the top when you hit up here to get you down out of the way.
Have another view.
Here, maybe we pick him a little further back around. Yeah, he's right on the bottom. He's already had a problem getting in the corner. With that much smoke, I wouldn't doubt he didn't have some kind of motor problem because the car's broken loose on the bottom of the track, and then it just takes off up the hill. Looks like I thought I might have seen a little bit of liquid coming out. He might have had a problem getting down in that corner when the engine turned loose.
Alan Kawicki, who holds the one-lap record on the speedway at over 175 miles an hour, established in qualifying for the October 500-miler here, has trouble today and walks away from the Hooters number 7 after it has been eliminated by this crash that takes place at lap 206, 4th caution of the day. Thus far, we've had 25 laps under caution. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Ken, we're just past the halfway point, so we'll take a look at our Goodyear mid-race report. 10 lead changes among 7 drivers at the halfway mark. Average speed 142 miles an hour, slowed by 3 cautions for 23 laps. 6 cars were out of the race, make that 7 with Kulwicki. They include Dick Trickle, Greg Sachs, and Larry Pearson, Jimmy Means, Jim Sauter, Stanley Smith, and now add Alan Kulwicki perhaps to that list if his car goes to the garage area. Mark Martin jumped from the pole to lead the first 3 laps. Mike Waltrip went in front. He's since had some engine trouble. Schrader, Wallace, Earnhardt, and Davey Allison have been the pace setters here. Add Kenny Wallace, who led a lap under green before making a pit stop, and Ken Schrader, who led at lap 200, is the name to know. If the right guard people call you, he picked up the $10,000 bonus for leading the halfway lap, and knowing that name could win you a Pontiac Grand Prix if they call. Back to Ken Squire.
Thank you, Mike. Coming in on the hook is car number 7. Alan Kawicki out of it, and the field getting sorted out, getting set on a restart. Davey Allison's car number 28 getting an opportunity to show its colors for a bit up in front here as we get back ready for green. And the number 3 car of Earnhardt, Schrader, all serious numbers to consider to win this race, as is number 33 Harry Gant. There's the number 7 car really bent up in the back.
Ken, we got all the cars coming in pit road. Looks like everybody's coming in. Alan's car looks like it's not going to be able to repair it. While these guys are taking a pit, getting a pit stop, getting these cars serviced, let's take a break.
Standings after 210 laps. Davey Allison in first, Dale Earnhardt second, Ken Schrader third, Harry Gant in fourth, and Dale Jarrett maintaining the 5th position. That's after 2:10 are on the docket here this afternoon in the Coca-Cola 600 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, live on WTBS. Rick Mast has had really an off day. They've been in for many, many laps. They had hoped to have a really good day. They're running this car this weekend in the memory of a former crewman, Hugo Phelps, who was really what they call the heart of the team and has passed on a couple of weeks ago. There's a mark on the car in memory of Hugo, and the whole team saddened by his loss. We're looking for a start, I believe, probably 2 laps. Not quite ready. They're still working a little to get Alan Kowicki's debris cleaned up in turn numbers 3 and 4 and get us back underway. There's a complete running order for you as of the halfway mark. That'll show you the top 30. Incidentally, Jim Sauter has taken over for Eddie Bierswale. Eddie apparently had a touch of the flu when he started today, and things sure didn't get better out there. Jim Sauter's car number 89 has retired from the event, and so he gets a chance for a second run. Those out of the race, Dick Trickle, Greg Sachs, Larry Pearson, Jimmy Means, Sauter, Stanley Smith, and now Alan Kowicki have retired from it. Joe Ruttman's number 75 is coming back on the track. Report that the 24 car out here was going too fast on pit road and therefore is going to be penalized. That would be Mickey Gibbs. That'd be much fun today. He'll be placed in the back of the pack for the restart. This car really enforcing that pit road speed rule today, Neil.
And they're doing that. They're doing it every race for the safety, and they're starting to use speed guns on pit road, radar guns. So they've also black the 42 cars. We're going to see what happened there. I see him dropping back.
Well, Davey Allison on that last round of pit stops beat everybody out of pit road. He had a pit stop of 21:38. The reason for such a good pit stop, on the pit stop just before that, they did not have a good pit stop. So the whole crew that goes over the wall sat down here on the ground and they talked it over. They had kind of an executive board meeting about what to do in order to fix their pit stops. And boy, they really fixed it that time. But the most important story here in the 28 car, synchro gear is going on the transmission on second gear. They may have a developing transmission problem. The crew is being optimistic, saying, don't worry about it, it's okay. I'd worry about it.
Thank you, Dick Berggren, and we'll see what happens as he gets ready to fire it up and come through gears now. Coming down to the start, temperature 98 degrees, 135 degrees on the track. The humidity here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway about 100%. There's the break at lap 213. They're back under green. Rusty Wallace down on the inside trying to get that lap back, and does just that. The defending champion in the 600 moves away from Davey Allison, the leader.
If he's having a problem with the synchronizers in second gear, he's got to nurse that thing a little bit. I think it works pretty good for it. We'll have to see how it does here.
Back to the line. Give Rusty Wallace a shot at the lead lap. That puts 7 cars back in the lead lap, with Davey Allison in front. Earnhardt, as you see, number 3 in second. And here comes Davey, bustling right down on the inside and busting through to put Wallace down a lap again. Brings Earnhardt with him.
Looks kind of like fourth gear's working pretty good. And there's Dale blowing the horn a little bit. Says, I need to stay after Davey as much as possible.
Rusty says, thank you, I'll run this line for a minute. And here comes Schrader just to mix it up. And there's Gant in the 33. Remember Rusty Wallace trying to win it back-to-back. The last time it was done, 88 and 89 by Waltrip. Not many duplicate here, Neil.
No, I got in 2 lucky laps myself.
Yep. 82 and 83, Neil Bonnet. So you found the magic, and then the third year when you tried to do it, the motor went away. Look at this, 3 wide as they hustle out of turn 4. Davey Allison away, and Schrader in the mix. Clambering right up through into second spot. Pretty good piece of driving by Ken Schrader in car number 25.
Yeah, he caught Dale and Rusty had really been banging on each other pretty good there, and Kenny got on around him, and he's really making a good move at Davey now.
And Mark Martin in that lap back has moved around Wallace. In fact, Rusty Wallace is really falling back. Mark Martin, Ernie Irvin both pulling around him That drops Wallace into 9th position, a lap down. Davey Allison first, Schrader second. Earnhardt is in 3rd, Harry Gant 4th, and Dale Jarrett a cool and steady 5th.
Well, we've seen this scene enough today. Davey Allison with a gap in between him and the guys chasing him.
Davey Allison into 3. When he turned 18 and graduated, that was when Bobby Allison let him have his own car. He worked on a lot of cars, swept a lot of floors, cleaned the bathrooms, and emptied trash cans, he remembered one time. He got himself ready for a Winston Cup career, but that's what he really wanted to do.
When I was driving for Bobby at that time, I'd run into short tracks for Bobby, and David come around. He sure enough, he'd sweep the floor, he'd clean up all the trash, and then when the shop would shut down at night, he'd go in and work on his own race cars. And they had a little Peach Fuzz gang, a bunch of young guys, and they really did a good job working on them.
Here's Mickey Gibbs, number 24. That's the Barry Dotson team car, looking like it's having some problems today. That team still in search of a sponsor. Good bunch of guys, brand new team, having their trouble here in the 600, bringing it back on pit road.
Yeah, Ken, they don't need this. They've had trouble, last couple of weeks here through the Winston and everything, trying to get the car up to speed.
Lost a car. Here's Harry Gantz, number 33, that is staying 4th on the field. How do you stay in shape, Harry?
I just stay active. They come out this word couch potato a few years ago, and I thought a lot about that, and I made it a rule now, I don't lay down on the couch anymore. I sit in a chair if I'm going to watch television, and I just stay more active than I did. I used to like to lay down on the couch after the race on Monday, lay there and watch some television, some programs and all, but now I get up, right after the race, I get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I go straight and do what I got to do, and I stay busy all day.
I tell you what, Ken, he might be 51 years old, but Harry Gant is in as good a shape as anyone in that garage area. He used to work in construction work, build houses, and he'd just grab the rafters with his fingertips and do pull-ups. Harry can pretty well do that right now.
Yeah, when he gives you that couch potato line, don't let him fool you.
He tries to fool you on the racetrack. He'll fool you. If you don't watch him, he'll tell you a story about something else.
Well, now he eats well. He's got his own restaurant. And he likes that. But he has his 2 daughters that are running everything. He says one of the hardest things about what he's going through now is he has to ask his daughters for his allowance.
Well, I'm sure after Talladega, he ought to put some of that money in his pocket after winning that race and have his own.
Kids have tightened the screws right down on him. 223 laps complete. Let's take a look at this battle for 5th place out here. There's the 21 car. And Dale Jarrett in that Ford of the Wood brothers, you know pretty well. Neil, that's one that you're familiar with, is fighting with Hut Strickland. There's a couple of guys coming along out of the Grand National ranks, both very, very good drivers. 600 miles, they could be contending right at the end of this thing, right up there.
I was just talking to Harold Elliott in Rusty Wallace's pit. I said, Harold, looks like he had a left rear tire rubbing, is what's Rusty said. He said he really hadn't mentioned the tire rubbing. He said the car has been extremely loose in the last 2 sets of tires. The very next pit over, Mark Martin's pit, I was talking to Robert Pemberton, his crew chief. He said that Mark's car will be loose for about 15 laps after he puts new tires on. Then the car will neutral out for a while. Then it will start pushing. So they're trying to get the handle on the car, and right now they're having trouble.
It's a long time to ride a loose race car. Take a look at this move. Down on the here's that number 2 of Rusty Wallace, and then he's the one that Phil Parsons was just alluding to. Look at this scramble here as Strickland and Jarrett continue their own war back there in 5th spot. Hut Strickland has moved around Dale Jarrett, picked up one. We have 6 cars in the lead lap, and those are the tail enders in what is now lap 226 of the 400 to be run.
And that's 2 guys that really need a good finish. Both of them have been running good. How many times lately we've seen Dale just be in the wrong place, the wrong time, and get wrecked and touch fell out of races. Both of these guys can sure use a good finish today.
Meanwhile, Harry Gant at number 33 closes in on Earnhardt for 3rd.
Harry must have looked at the board and be mixed up on what lap it is. This is a little early for him to be coming up through there. He usually waits right to the end. This car is really working good on the bottom of the racetrack, and Leo Jackson and his guys can give him plenty of power to work with also.
Do you remember back in '89, the old Charlotte Observer, Tom Higgins gave the Comeback Driver of the Year award, and it was Harry Gant? He's still coming back bigger and better than ever. Just won at Talladega and is a major contender to win the 600. 51 years of age.
Can you give that every 10 years? He'll be ready in about 8 more to do it again.
Well, he started here in 1973 in Winston Cup. Of course, he'd driven every short track there was to drive in the Southeast and the Northeast. We used to see him up in New England doing a lot of racing. And a very fine runner, number 33, continuing to close. And for the moment, Earnhardt draws away. Take a little further back here, and let's see where car number 12 is as we try to spot him. Hut Strickland in relationship to the Harry Gant car. And there you see the 12. That's Strickland in 5th, and right on his gas pipe is Dale Jarrett in 6th. Those are the cars in the lead lap. And then you see the number, there's the number 12. That's Strickland in 5th. He started 30th on the day. And there's Dale Jarrett. Right behind Jarrett comes the number 15. And that is Morgan Shepherd's car, who is running considerably down in this race. They have not had a good day. They are now shown in 27th position, 3 laps back to the leaders. The Bud Moore team, car number 15, right behind the 21 car. Take a little further back here. Here is the Rusty Wallace, car number 2. He's running 9th overall on the field. That's just where he started the day, and he's a lap down. Brand new team for Roger Penske.
Ken, you can see that looseness in his car as he comes off forward, really cranking on the wheel in the back end, trying to get out from under him.
Now that 20 car is running 2 laps down. That's Bobby Hillen in the 18th position in the Dick Moroso car.
Bobby ran good at the first of the race. You know, he was one of the guys trying to keep him going a lap down, and he was at the first race he had the car running real good.
And you keep hearing that things are turning around for Bobby Hillen. There have been 2 or 3 offers for his abilities in a race car in the past couple of weeks. We'll see what that develops on that as the next few days go by and they get ready to go to Dover, Delaware. Ricky Rudd, there's your 10th place car. Ricky Rudd, car number 5, started 17th on the day. We're at 2:31 as you watch Rudd, who has never won this 600, and with Waddell Wilson as crew chief, always is considered a contender to win.
One of the big factors with them is the power that Waddell Wilson can put in those engines, and they've got good chassis under the cars. Hendricks builds their own cars now, and with Waddell's motor in that thing is really running.
Looking further back on the field, there's the man, 17 times a winner of this event, Darrell Waltrip, who is still just 1 lap down and running in 12th position. He didn't need to go a lap down in his quest to win this thing for the 6th time. That's what's hurting him now.
Yeah, you know, when you see a guy lay back some, you say, well, he's doing that. But when Darrell has got himself in this position, the car can't be running like he wants it to be. He doesn't need to be a lap down at this particular time.
And Richard Petty. More needs to be said. The king. Pay good money to see him run anytime he wants to strap on a seatbelt and go for it.
Got a nice little dent in the quarter panel there. He's been real close to somebody one time or other in the race.
His cousin Dale Inman is not in the pits today. He's up on the roof working as the chief spotter for car number 43.
Dale changed his role. He's got a guy that runs the pits for him. He gets up top and does the spotting and tries to work with the pit crew from the roof. He's got a lot better overall picture of what's going on.
So as Richard Petty continues further back in the field, Davey Allison stays up on top. 600 continues at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Here you see part of the record crowd at the Charlotte Motor Speedway today for the Coca-Cola 600 at Indianapolis. Rick Mears has just won it for the 4th time. Roger Penske for the 10th. And right now, their car, Rusty Wallace aboard, is 9th in this 32nd running of the $960,000 Coca-Cola 600. The Commander's Performance Award is given by the U.S. Air Force Reserve, and the award for the 600 was made earlier this week by Lieutenant Colonel Ronald B. Hall.
Thank you, Ken. It's a great pleasure to be here again at Charlotte Motor Speedway to present another Air Force Reserve Commander's Performance Award. And with me is the winner of the Talladega 500, the Skull Bandit himself, Mr. Harry Gant. The Air Force Reserve is very proud to be here today to recognize your individual achievement and to recognize the Skull Bandit team.
thank you very much for this. You know, our Scope Bandit team is real proud of this, and I'm sure they're going to appreciate this as much as me, and thank the Air Force for this award. I've seen it on TV a lot, but I didn't think I would get it.
Thank you.
Handsome Harry, right now, running in 4th position. Eased along. And the last time out at Talladega, and then he was there at the finish. One would wonder if that's the intention he has today. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Ken, I'm with Alan Kulwicki, who's got the tough break to be out of this one early. Alan, what happened?
Well, we blew an engine. It seized up and it blew up going down the backstretch. And I backed it in the wall. A couple cars almost hit me, and we were fortunate that it wasn't any worse than it was.
Tell me, what kind of shape is the track in today?
It's pretty slick, you know, but it's not a whole lot worse than we thought it would be, and it's pretty much the same for everyone. So, yeah, a little bit slippery, but, you know, that's what we expected.
Okay, good luck next week at Dover.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming by. Alan Kulwicki.
It's going to be a hard race to go 600 miles today. Charlotte, load up and head onto the Monster Mile for 500 miles next week, Neil.
Yeah, what's so tough about Dover is 500 miles, but it's 500 laps. That's a lot of laps around that racetrack, and it makes a day's work.
243 laps are complete. 364 and a half miles in the Coca-Cola 600. And here's the man that everybody's chasing. Fox is Davey Allison. The hounds are Ken Schrader, Dale Earnhardt, Harry Gant, Strickland, and Jarrett that are right there trying to tree him from that lead lap. Following that are Mark Martin, Ernie Urban, Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waldrop, Ricky Rudd, and when you were seeing number 43, Richard Petty, let's not forget that the man who set the record for the fastest race back in 1975 at an average of 145 miles an hour in this event, Richard Petty is just one lap down in 12th position. He's having a good day.
And Ken, the cars he's racing with is real good race cars. He's a lap down, but he's holding his own with some of the best cars on the circuit. So if he just keeps plugging, he'll be in good shape.
You can see he's running up against Ricky Rudd right now, and he's trying to take a spot. The King, 200-time winner, Richard Petty, goes to the bottom on Ricky Rudd. That's the Richard of old. Car number 43 picks up another and moves to 11th position here in the 600. One of his favorite tracks. He was saying to me, where everybody's talking about how rough 3 and 4 was, Richard said, you know, when we started on this racetrack way back, he said, 3 and 4 would be considered about the best part of the place. He said, now everybody's, he said, they don't remember when this racetrack was rough.
Are you trying to say we've been spoiled through the years with these nice, smooth racetracks?
Just a little, Neil, just a little.
I tell you what's fun to watch about watching Richard Petty. He just passed Ricky Rudd for a position on the racetrack. Not the lead, but a position, and the entire grandstand stands up. They keep up with what Richard's doing all the time, and he doesn't have to win the race on a given day. If he just makes that car run good, they really appreciate it.
Richard, you've raced here for a long time. How has this track changed over the years?
It's a lot smoother, even though everybody's complaining about how rough it is. If they'd have been here the first race they had, there was holes you could bury every one of the cars here and never noted. You know, and they just improved everything here. It's really great. The track itself now has been laid here a pretty good while, and it's pretty rough in 3 and 4. They got 3 or 4 patches they had to put in there. 1 and 2 is still the same as it's always been. So, you know, it's a deal. Everybody has to run in the same place, so you just have to set up and get used to it.
He sure gets used to it. The 75 and 77 champion in the 600. Back in the days when he drove for Dodge. Richard Petty in car number 43. Looks mighty good to a lot of people out here this afternoon as he wheels this Pontiac, currently in 11th position.
Maybe one reason they had those holes in the racetrack, when you had that Dodge and those big Hemi motors, Richard stuck that big boot in the carburetor to dig a hole in a hurry.
Here he is, closing in a little now on car number 17. Meanwhile, up in front, take a look at what's happening here. Davey Allison's what's happening here. Eddie Bierschwale on the inside, and on the in-car camera, from the Haviland in-car camera, Davey Allison scoots just by him. Remember that Jim Sauter is now in that Eddie Bierschwale car. It's the first driver replacement that we've had today. Again, Rick Mears has won at Indianapolis. It was rain delayed at the outset. Comes through to win for the 4th time. The Penske team here today. Rusty Wallace is currently being shown in 9th spot. This is the man everybody's after, hounding Davey Allison, who isn't bothered one bit by it. He sure learned well from his dad. And for the moment, he has this field contained, under control. Nobody getting any closer than he wants to allow them.
You know, I've been watching Kenny Schrader. We got him right here. Let's follow Schrader a lap around this racetrack. He's ran lap after lap after lap. He's not been able to close in on Davey Allison. He's changed his line. The last few laps, Kenny's playing around looking for a faster place. See how high he's running through 1 and 2 here? If he does the same thing this lap, I want you to watch the high line that he takes through 3 and 4. He goes down the back straightaway virtually in the same place, and he's been running the car right up on the wall. He might go back to the bottom, but he's really been running a high line with his race car. Right up on the top, get it right up in the gray area. What happens, he's not content with that line he was running. He wasn't gaining on Davey, so he's fishing around looking for a faster place on the racetrack.
They tell you on the radio when they begin to see those seconds tick off, or can you feel it?
Ken, a lot of times they'll tell you they see somebody run a different line. A lot of times I'll be sitting there and I'll say, hey, look, I'm going to move up and try it high for a lap to read me my lap times. You move up there and they say, well, that's better. Well, you stay there. They say, boy, you dropped 2/10. Well, you hop back in that bottom as quick as you can. And then I've tried it high in one end of the racetrack, low in the other. You're talking about 600 miles. Don't sit there and crank it out in the same place unless you're leading the race like Davey. I doubt you could chase Davey off the place he's on, but these guys, the other people are fishing around for a fast way around this racetrack.
We'll check the interval between first and second. In fact, it could just come down. It's 3.09 seconds. There's Davey Allison as you watch him at work. He once said that his dad's best advice, Neil, was just remember, when you get in over your head, it's too late. But he said, I still had to find that out the hard way. There's Lake Speed working in car number 66, the Phillips 66 Drop Arctic in-car camera. Lake is running the 20th position at the present time.
I tell you, you see Davey with a full face helmet. People have been hesitant to go to those helmets, but Bill Simpson's built some real light equipment now, and it's good to use the full face stuff in the cars. I feel like you see a lot of the drivers change over. See the helmet have good coverage in case of a fire. We just had a habit of running open face helmets, and that right there is a lot safer.
How about your peripheral vision with that helmet?
Bill Simpson built these helmets, this particular helmet, with a lot of wraparound. If you'll notice how far the guide goes back around the shield, you can see right out the side of the helmet. They used to have a little peephole in the front, but he catered for these old big-headed race car drivers and got them where you can see out of them now.
One of the great lines that Kurt Schummer was talking about Dale Earnhardt. I said, what makes him so good? He says he has the greatest peripheral vision of any race driver. And he said he can see his own ears move.
Yeah, but I tell you what, he can see a lot, but he feels his way along a lot, too.
Here's Davey Allison's 28. And it's 254 laps now in the book as he continues to throttle wide open. It looks like he is not going to hold back all the way to the finish, to quote an old Delbert McClinton song. 254 laps would put us 381 miles deep into this event. And we haven't had that many cautions today. Relatively caution-free. Latest victim, Alan Kowicki. So Davey Allison is first, Schrader is in second, Earnhardt is in third, and for the moment, Allison's got him covered. Can he stay there? Question mark. $390 miles, 260 laps are in the book. Now clicking off 261. It's Davey Allison first, Schrader second, Earnhardt third, Gant fourth, Hut Strickland fifth, and Dale Jarrett in sixth. As you watch car number 66 running in 20th position, Lake Speed. There's Davey Allison's number 28. Still overhauling anything there is on the racetrack. The quickest machine here is that Ford of Davey Allison, prepared by Robert Yates. We're talking about helmets a moment or two ago. And down at the STP Pit Center, Mike Joy has more.
Thanks, Ken. Let's take that discussion a little further and show you latest technology. First, from inside Lake Speed's car, the car we saw a moment ago when we came back from commercial. Now, you see Lake has got that open face helmet, and it's made in that style with a little bit of wraparound to the side, and also in a style that comes all the way around front, but still allows the driver to use those open face bubble goggles. Now, from inside Davey Allison's car, you'll see the latest design. It's kind of space capsule-ish, a type helmet that Bell, with the full-face helmet, initiated. Dan Gurney, I believe, first had one at Indy in 1968. Down here in the PCC, we've got an example of this new technology, and here's the type of helmet many drivers are going to.
Coming off
full face. It has a full shield, and we'll be back to it in a moment. Ken?
Bill Elliott doing a wild spin. That's a double slide out of turn number 4. Bill Elliott's car number 9, loose, spinning. He was running in 13th position at the time. stops it in the grass. Bill Elliott trying to get it fired up. Neil?
As they were coming off fourth turn, I've been watching Terry Labonte and Bill have really been running each other really, really hard for several laps, and they got tangled up coming off the fourth turn. Got hooked up together, and Bill went around, but that battle had been going for about 5 laps.
Let's review what happened here.
Here's Labonte down on the inside, clips right in the rear, gets Bill turned. The car almost whipped back around the other side after he comes across the grass, but hung him just enough on the quarter panel to get Bill headed to the grass. What concerns a lot of people is this area right here, crossing the grass, across that little pavement section was where they paved the track for the Legends. They were concerned that the car might hook and flip there, but it made it through there.
So Bill Elliott brings out this caution period. There you see it again, sliding down, keeps it off the racetrack, bottom of the racetrack. Bill Elliott, who had a second place finish back in 1982 in this event, still trying to win it.
Yes, sir, Mike Joy. I'd like to throw it back to you. I didn't mean to be so rude and interrupt you, but we were getting exciting up here.
And I don't think Bill Elliott did either. Again, here's the latest design helmet. Both Bell and Simpson offer a version of this. It's carbon fiber. It's full face for protection. Has a full shield also in case of flame in the car. And it has this tube which hooks to a ventilation system to blow clear air at the driver. Now, there's rumor of an even newer development, the Neil Bonnet autograph model. I saw a mock-up of it yesterday up here at the Charlotte Speedway, and it had all the grids and it had all little circles that those fellas in the seatbelt commercials wear, and that may be available soon with Neil's name on it.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, Mike. Joy Simpson told me he's going to build my own uniform and helmet with a crash design on it. I've done enough of it for it.
All right, under this caution period, all the leaders have been on pit road. They're coming back out now. We'll get the field sorted for you and join you for more of the Coca-Cola 600 in a moment. One more lap and we'll have 400 miles down, 400.5 miles to be exact, at 267 laps. We have 6 cars in the lead lap after the sort out from the latest stop on pit road under caution, with Davey Allison, Earnhardt, Gant first, second, and third, Strickland, Jarrett, Schrader 4, 5, and 6. The city of Charlotte has become the hub of American stock car racing. At every level, the sport is a part of this community. To report on that, we sent the intrepid, inquisitive Ken Stabler into the field.
Ken, my Charlotte tour turned up some very involved people who get very little public exposure. First stop, Travis Carter's Suburban Race Shop, where Jimmy Spencer's car is prepared. These shops are full of people who don't get much exposure. One of them is Carl Adams. Carl at one time made a living on the West Coast as a driver, but 19 years ago moved to the Charlotte area where he's found his niche. Racing obviously has been good to a lot of people involved in it for various ways. Racing, I'm sure, has done an awful lot for you, or you wouldn't be affiliated with race cars.
Racing has been really my whole life. I've been involved in this sport for over 30 years. And I still am excited about racing, even though I'm not driving, but I still plan to be in this type of business for a long, long time.
There are a lot more interesting people around Charlotte caught up in stock car racing. I'll have more for you later in the show.
All right, thank you, Snake. 268 down, getting set to go. Incidentally, Mickey Gibbs has rejoined the field in the Barry Dotson car. Let's go to Phil Parsons.
Down here with Ernie Elliott. Ernie, the thing hung in third. Is it hung in third or fourth gear?
I just tore up all of it. It just tore up everything underneath.
So is it hung in high gear? Can you finish a race just in high gear?
No.
That's Ernie Elliott down here. We also noticed that Mark Martin, when he came in for a pit stop, that came in and went under the hood, his car definitely sounded like it was missing.
Thank you, Phil. There's the story on car number 9. Bill Elliott still trying to win this 600. He's had himself 33 wins, but this is one that's eluded him.
I don't know what the deal is with the pit right now. Dale and Earnhardt and the other guys that pitted earlier. Looks like they're going to put a splash of gas in these cars. Right at the last minute, they turned that off the fourth turn, so they must be going to try to get set up where they make it with just 2 more stops.
Remember, again, 6 cars. Allison, Earnhardt, Gant, Strickland, Jarrett, Schrader. This will change that around. This is going to move Earnhardt on the tail end of that lead group. 1 lap down. In 7th would be Waltrip. In 8th is Rusty Wallace. 9th is Ricky Rudd. We'll see if Waltrip can make up a lap here as we get ready to go. He, Wallace, Rudd, Ernie Irvin in 10th, Terry Labonte in 11th would like to get back in this thing. And Kenny Wallace, having a very good day in what has been the Kyle Petty ride, is now 12th.
I'll tell you, Kenny, that's a golden opportunity to him. You hate to see anybody get hurt like that. Kyle really got hurt at Talladega, and Kenny stepped in there. And that car has shown a lot of power and a lot of handling ability with Gary Nelson working on it. Just totally dominates Rockingham every time they go there. And the car is running good here, and Ken's doing a good job with it.
Let's go down to Mike Joy.
Wally Dallenbach is another Ford that suddenly had problems here, and the Junie Donlevy car's in the garage. What happened, Wally?
Well, at first we lost the clutch, and when we lost the clutch, when we made a pit stop, we had to get out pretty hard, and then we bent the drive shaft, and we've got a problem with the rear end now. I think with the bent drive shaft, it just hurt the whole drivetrain.
Former Trans Am champ. A lot of folks thought you might be headed toward IndyCar racing, yet you're here at Charlotte. What do you think of this type of the sport?
Oh, I love this racing. It's great, and it's racing, that's for sure. But we're out here trying to get as much experience as we can, and we're down a bunch of laps. But if we can just get as much seat time as we can, we'll try to get back out there.
What's the biggest thing you learned today?
That it's hot.
It is that. Ken?
Thank you very much, Mike. There's a great addition to NASCAR racing. Wally Dallenbach. His dad was one of the nicest people we knew in stock car racing way back, and has been a great addition to Indianapolis car racing. And this guy, two-time champion, Wally Dallenbach, he gets his teeth set into this. Look out. You see 28, that car has pitted and come back out, so Davey Allison has given up the lead. He goes back to 6th position on the board, and that means that on the shakeout with 270 laps complete, Harry Gant will be in front when we come down for green.
Yeah, the exact reason that Neil Bonnet had was correct. The business about timing of pit stops. This yellow flag came too early for everybody. Everybody was planning on doing 2 more pit stops, but this one came just a few laps early. And that's why Earnhardt and the 28 Allison came in, so they can make it on only 1 more. You're right, Neil.
Thank you, Dick Berggren, and as they break, going to turn number 1. Here is Waltrip on the inside, and it's now or never for him. He has to get out in front if he wants to get back in that lead lap. Gant trying to hold him down.
There's Gant leading the race, and we've been talking all day long. He's sitting there leading this thing now.
Hut Strickland gets right down behind Waltrip, but Harry Gant fends them off as they come through 4. Gant is your leader. Number 12, Hut Strickland out of Alabama, is in 2nd spot in that Bobby Allison car. The 25 car, Schrader is 3rd.
Ken, when you mentioned Schrader, and if we're talking about being borderline on making it on 2 gas stops, Schrader has been the gas mileage king of the day, so he might be in good shape if this thing goes green the rest of the way.
Trying to win his first 600, Schrader, and there goes Hut Strickland, number 12, bottom of the racetrack. Keeping Waltrip a lap down. The front 2 cars, Gant and Strickland. 272 complete. Gant, for the moment, drawing away.
Yeah, you know, Neil Bonnet, you talked about the fuel mileage Ken Schrader got. You remember a couple weeks ago what kind of fuel mileage Harry Gant got when he won the race at Talladega. He went about 915 miles. I think they drove all the way back home, never put any gas in the thing. So you got to watch for Harry Gant if it comes down to fuel mileage.
Yep, and just as you're saying that, we had a pass for the lead, but Strickland just took the lead away from Harry, so they're really mixing it up on the front again with Schrader right under him.
And closing, Earnhardt. Front 4 going to turn 1. Here's Schrader down to the bottom. Chasing Strickland at number 12. Hut Strickland with the lead. 2nd spot, that's Ken Schrader. Harry Gant hanging 3rd. Earnhardt in 4th. Rejuvenated race after this caution period.
This ought to rejuvenate Bobby Allison, too, to see his car out leading this race. Bobby has been so strong and won a lot of these World 600s. I'm glad to see his car running good.
Rick Mass, number 1, is just up in front of these cars. It is down considerably in this race. It's only completed 200 laps. 272 are in the book. They keep working on it and getting out here. Jackson Brothers trying to keep Rick in the point battle. Backstretch, and Hut Strickland is having a great moment out in front in the Coca-Cola 600 in the Bobby Allison car. Here comes Schrader.
Try him on the outside.
"13 lead changes among 9 drivers. The 9th driver to take over has been that number 12. Here comes Schrader on the outside. They round turn 2. It's got to be a thrilling moment for Bobby Allison to have a car back up in front and know he has a driver as good as this kid Strickland.
That's right. They got a lot of ground laid for a big-time plan for Hutt. You know, he's a young guy. They get this team organized, they can be a factor in racing for a long time here.
I think a lot of folks would be interested in how involved Bobby Allison is in that team.
Bobby has a lot of input in it. You know, Bobby was probably one of the best guys at setting a chassis up, knowing the ground up on the chassis work. Matter of fact, he was one of the first guys to go with the front steer cars, which everybody has now. I'm sure Bobby puts as much into that team as he can.
Well, as a kid, Hud Strickland had a toy race car, and he painted the number 12 on it because he wanted to have a number like Bobby Allison. And right now, Hud Strickland is fighting for the lead in the Coca-Cola 600. He's looking up from under by one position at this juncture with Ken Schrader's Chevrolet out in front. The Buick of Hud Strickland in second. The Oldsmobile of Harry Gant is third. It's the Chevy of Dale Earnhardt in fourth. The Fords of Davey Allison and Dale Jarrett completing the top 6 in the lead lap here at Charlotte.
Gant's car got a little loose with him there. He tried to drive down with Hutt, and the car broke loose on him just a little bit at 3 and 4.
Ken Schrader, how do you play the last few laps if you're running second, going for the lead?
You just get that front end up there and gouge all you can. You know, try to worry the heck out of them, make them mess up. If you're, you know, hopefully your car's working a little bit better and you can move around and use all the parts of the racetrack.
He's using all the parts. As Neil Bonnet was saying earlier, when he was down to Davey Allison, he used up everything except the aisles, trying to find a way to move back into the lead spot.
And he had actually found him a way. He was a little bit quicker around the racetrack. On cool tires, he'll be in that bottom. When it gets hot, you might see him move back up where he was at.
But look at Strickland close in again. The number 12 wheels right back up there to fight for the lead. You're watching a relative newcomer in Winston Cup racing going up against, well, not exactly a name that is synonymous like a Petty or the Allison name, but Ken Schrader has been known for many years for his sprint car and midget racing exploits, and he's been a natural in Winston Cup racing. Now he's fighting with a new name, Hut Strickland, but with an old ownership, Allison on the side of that car.
Hut Strickland may be a new name to most fans, but if they were paying attention last weekend here at Charlotte, he finished in the top 3 in that Winston Open, and I think he and Jimmy Fennick and Bobby Allison all got a big boost out of that finish. He showed he could run with the front guys. He got into the Winston, the all-star race for this sport, had a good 50 laps there, really ran well, and whatever they found, they've applied the lessons well. But I think, and Neil, more importantly, the boost in confidence he got out of that finish last weekend, I think is carrying him a long way here today.
Mike, you're right. When a young guy gets in a car and he comes to a track like this, you're almost in awe of this facility with the grandstands, all the people, and being in a Bobby Allison race car. The more he can get that car in front and build confidence up, the better he's going to perform each week, and it's really showing up with him.
Here he comes, showing that confidence right now as he dives down to the inside. I'll tell you, he looked great at Daytona in race number 1 of the year. And if fortune will just play kindly with him, Hut Strickland is going to be around and be a serious contender, a major name in this sport for years to come. Here he is, down to the line. Whew. Drivers whose first super speedway victory was in this Coca-Cola 600. Naturally, the first year when Joe Lee Johnson pulled it off. That second year when David Pearson scored the first of 105 career wins was here. Jim Paschal, the great Jim Paschal, in 1964 came home in first place. That was the one with the least lead changes, 11, tied with Joe Lee Johnson back in 1960. And Kyle Petty in 87. Of course, Kyle had won at Richmond earlier that year, but on a super speedway, this was it. And that's not exactly. Remember that the first race he ever won, remember that in 1969, went to an ARCA race?
At Daytona,
Kyle had never blew off. Everybody said, gee, when's the next one going to be?
I'd always heard about Richard's son, he's going to be a good quarterback when he got out of high school, went to college. Next thing we know, he's ended up winning the ARCA race. I think he forgot about the football program.
There you see car number 33 closing on the 2 leaders. 12 and 25 are in front. And moving in, and here comes Davey Allison in the car number 28, closing on Dale Earnhardt in number 3. That's the fight for 4th. Getting a little more intense now at Charlotte with 285 of 400 laps complete in the 32nd running of the Coca-Cola 600.
At the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Kenny Schrader's got to have a look in his mirror for Davey Allison, who is coming fast. And if you're driving around Orlando, watch your mirror for Charles Truax of St. Cloud, Florida, a 6-year NASCAR fan and a Bill Elliott booster. He'll get the keys to a Pontiac Grand Prix SE because he knew Kenny Schrader was leading at the halfway lap, and Gillette right guard is going to give him the car. Ken Squire?
He's having better luck than Bill Elliott.
Yeah, he might need to borrow the transmission out of that thing since he tore his all to pieces.
291 laps of 400 are now complete. Brett Bodine has just made an extra pit stop and come back out. When do we get to 500 miles? 333, 334?
Yep, and when we get to there, we're going to start wondering how much further these cars will go. We haven't seen that much attrition today. We had a lot of caution flags. The motors have been staying together. It's that last little bit that seems to get the good out of it.
Take a look at Davey Allison coming to the inside, closing up on Schrader for 3rd. Allison's there with the Ford, the Chevy on the high side. Here's Davey Allison's view, and just in front you see number 33 tucked up there in the top. About 1 lane up as they work some lap traffic here and move around a slow-moving Brett Bodine in the Kenny Bernstein car.
The sun gets kind of bad right here going down in this end of the racetrack at times. You get in one, you get shaded by the condos right there, and then coming up off the corner, sometimes this is a problem right here being able to see good.
The Haviland, number 28 of Davey Allison, giving us these pictures as the fight continues, and Schrader takes the spot back. Wallace, who was running 1 lap down in 7th place, moves in.
Yeah, Schrader's going to make him work for that position. You know, the harder you can make that guy work, to use up some tires, and maybe Schrader race with him later on.
Take a look if you're just joining us. This is how the race began. Pole sitter Mark Martin out quickly. Then Michael Waltrip, who had sat on the outside of the front row, took over. Ken Schrader moving out in front. Waltrip took it back. Then Wallace came up to battle for it. Then we had a period of all Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator, followed by Davey Allison moving up in front. Schrader got it back for a few laps. Then Davey Allison worked his way into the lead and looked like he was just going to walk away from the field, make it like last weekend. Schrader ended that. Wallace got a crack at it. That was Kenny Wallace under caution. Coming out, he got a lap under some pit stops. Got a lap in front and picked up 5 points. Davey Allison, Schrader, and now for the moment, Allison again leading as we get toward the end of this race. Gant has had an opportunity at it. Strickland moved up. Schrader got by him once, and then it's been Ken Strickland, Hut Strickland once again over Ken Schrader.
Yeah, and then, you know, Rusty just went by Davey, and then Davey's right back around him, so I thought Davey might be fading a little bit when Schrader passed him, but he got back around Rusty and see if he can get him back to the front again.
Let's go to Phil Parsons.
Yeah, Bill Elliott's in the pit. Obviously, he got together with the car. They're trying to beat the left rear quarter panel on. Actually, the tire was pretty well ripped to shreds. Not sure if he got into somebody or the tire did the damage to the quarter panel. But right now, they're trying to beat the quarter panel out, get another new left rear tire on it, and get him back out in the race. I think his car is hung in high gear. Ernie said earlier that it was hung in 3rd gear. I think he got it jammed back in 4th gear. That's probably all Bill has. Caution flag is out.
Yellow is on at lap 296, 444 miles complete. Caution is down on the track, and this will jam them back together up in front as we look at the running order through 30 positions after some 280 laps. Caution is down. That would be the 6th caution of the day. Bill Elliott's car just going back on the track in car number 9 after that big loop, getting nailed up here in an altercation with Terry Labonte in turn 4. He kept it out of the wall, spun it through the grass twice. Here he is rejoining the field.
Ken, what can happen in a case like that? When they got together, caved the fender in enough that he put the tires on, went back out, and he's probably been rubbing because, just like Phil Parsons said, the tire exploded on the racetrack and virtually tore the quarter off. It could have been something from that previous incident.
Debris on the track is the condition that has brought out the 6th caution of the day.
I got a pretty good idea where that debris come from. Look at that left rear quarter of Bill Elliott.
we have a safety truck moving out down the main straightaway across the start-finish line. Looks like it's headed right up there toward the 4th turn. Actually, it's stopping right here by the start-finish line. Head on towards the field. Leaders coming in. Strickland, Gant, Schrader, Allison, Earnhardt, all on pit road. Here's Dick Bergman.
Hut Strickland is on pit road. He is at the very far end of pit road, up by turn 4. That's the least advantageous place to be. Jimmy Fennig, the crew chief, is just taking a round of bite out of the right rear. And believe it or not, they've got a fan on the driver. This is the fan that they ordinarily use to cool the engine off when they're out practicing. But today, they're going to try to keep their driver cool a little bit if they possibly can. Strickland, like everybody else on pit road, taking 4. He's up, he's gone in 25.58.
Boy, real drag race down pit road. It looks like Harry Gant's got him covered. Look at this scramble on pit road, and away they go with Harry Gant getting out there in front of number 25. All staying below the white line as they enter turn number 1, which is the rule here.
Yeah, you got to stay below the line, go all the way around to the 2nd turn and blend up into the racetrack. If Hut Strickland was calling for that fan in the car, it's about the time of day that you start feeling that 400, 500 miles. And then if you just look at it, you just got 100 more to go. They got a long way to go yet.
Dehydration, a big factor here.
Yeah, the time I won, the first time I won the race here, they asked me if I would mind being weighed before the race and checked afterwards, checked my weight and the blood count and all. And I lost 12 pounds in the second one that I won here, but it's all liquid. It takes about Tuesday or Wednesday to get to where you get the weight back on.
Lap cars now on pit road. Wallace is in, Waltrip is in. And this will be a critical stop for them as they'll try to get just that right combination, trying to fight their way back into that lead lap.
Well, maybe the reason I lost 12 pounds, I was a little chubby thing back then.
All right, the Coca-Cola 600 getting down toward the 300 lap mark complete, 450 of the 600 miles. .300 laps complete as they come by this time, 450 miles down in this 600-mile contest, and taking a shot at trying to get his lap back down in the bottom of the racetrack. It looks like Hamilton working his way through. Harry Gant up on the outside. Gant is your leader. Schrader in 2nd, Allison 3rd, Earnhardt 4th, Strickland 5th, and Jarrett 6th. Pile driver in front. There goes Earnhardt slipping right down below the lap cars. Thank you. I'll go by Morgan, and I'll take Bobby Hamilton. And then gets a little stiffer as you get up there on Earnhardt.
You got it just a little bit low getting in the corner there. Managed to get under.
How can you drive on the apron and up on the 24-degree banking at the same time?
It helps to have one of your eyes closed at least. That's kind of a nice little ride when you get in it. All that oil dry and dust off the tracks fell in the bottom, and it gets just a little slippery down there.
Here's Davey Allison screaming down the bottom of the racetrack. Look at that Ford tear down to the bottom. Chevrolet comes right back. Here comes Schrader.
And here comes Hut Strickland right with him.
At number 12 Buick. What a show it's put on today.
Now who's Hut going to go with here? There's Schrader and there's Davey. And Davey's going on with his own. I don't know. Schrader's holding him right there.
Needs to make up his mind and go with one. Let's take a look at the attrition. We'll hold that attrition for just a moment. We watch this incredible little move here by Hut Strickland as he elects now to fade out and run with Davey, and Earnhardt's going up on the high side. Scary stuff. This race had gone into the doldrums in the central part of it. Now as we get down toward the conclusion, here's Harry Gant trying to go for 2 in a row out in front. Davey Allison trying to run him down, and Hut Strickland in car number 12 trying for his first career victory, mixing it right up with Schrader and Earnhardt. It's a dandy.
He's right in behind Davey. It seems like he's got the same pace Davey has. It'll be interesting to see if they can close in on Harry now. Hut's car seems like it's got better as the day went along.
Coming down, they'll complete 305 laps, and at the line, Gant first, Davey Allison second. And what's his relative there in number 12?
Well, in Alabama, it's cousin-in-law. Married Donnie Allison's daughter, so that makes him a cousin-in-law in Alabama.
Take your word for it. There they are. Anyway, they're relatives. 28 and 12, having a dandy time. Bobby Allison's car right behind his son's number 28, the Robert Yates team. Old family feud going on here this afternoon in the 600 at Charlotte, and Hut Strickland is making that move. They close up on Gant. Harry Larry Gant, the leader in that Oldsmobile, feeling some pressure from Davey Allison's Ford, and Hut Strickland making a dandy ride in the Buick, and now Gant gives ground.
There goes Davey, and Hut going right along with him.
Now this has got to be just a super day for Bobby Allison and Judy Allison, that couple that have been synonymous with Winston Cup racing now since the 60s. As team owners, they've got a winner out here in Hut Strickland, manhandling number 12 out of turn number 4 to complete, this time by 308 laps, and it's a battle, a family feud for the lead.
I'm telling you, Hut's car really looks good at the bottom. Can run the same line. Both of those cars are hanging the left side wheels over the white line as low as you can get on the racetrack. They're both really hooked up.
Let's take a look at the attrition thus far in the 600. Those that no longer are part of the show. Dick Trickle is out. Greg Sachs, two-time Grand National champion. Larry Pearson. Jimmy Means is gone. Sauter is out. He's back in Eddie Bierschwell's car. Stanley Smith from Alabama. Alan Kowicki had hard luck up here in turn number 3. Dave Marcus is retired, as has Lake Speed. The motor failing on those cars. Take a look at this interval between first and second. Davey seems to be doing the draw away. 19 lead changes among 9 drivers thus far. I think the record for lead changes, I was going to say, where does that go back? It was like 79. They had over 50 when Darrell Waltrip won. So we're a long way from that one. Take a look at this little scramble. 17 and 2. This is for 7th place, 1 lap down. That's Rusty Wallace in the 2 on the outside, Darrell Waltrip on the inside, and guess who's there? Richard Petty in 9th. Doesn't that look grand?
This is as good as Richard has run in a long time, and I bet you he's going to try to cash in on it.
Yeah, all these old timers need is just these longer races. That's all. They don't need any of this. Here's Richard to the bottom on Rusty Wallace. It's Richard Petty, number 43. The STP colors moving up another spot. Petty goes into 8th. Waltrip in 7th, just in front of him. And what was said in the pits earlier is true once again. It doesn't matter who he passes. If he's up there in any kind of contention, they stand and give him a round of applause here in Charlotte. Probably the most discerning, discriminating audience you can perform in front of in stock car racing is here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Richard Petty, no matter where he goes, is admired. But here they really sense the greatness of the man.
Again, the guys that were standing up and the fans that were standing up, they all didn't have a Richard Petty hat on either. They all appreciate Richard's effort and as long and as hard as he's working at this.
Number 20 runs into the pits. Bobby Hillen quickly gets in, get himself in there, and I think he's planning to come right back. 26, Brett Bodine goes behind the wall. Petty closing on Waltrip. Gosh, remember a few years ago when those were such great battles? Well, you were in them most of the time.
Yeah, I had a lot better seat back then. I could look out the windshield and see some of these things.
That's Larry McReynolds on the radio talking to his driver out here. He's changed teams. He's now with that Robert Yates team, talking to Davey Allison today in car number 28. Are communications the key to a great race team?
Yeah, I think so, because, you know, a guy can't go out there anymore and do it on his own. In the old days, you used to just take a race car, put a driver in it, and see what he could do with the car. And, you know, maybe every once in a while you might change something, but for the most part, the driver got out there and he did it. Things have become so sophisticated now that it's not that way anymore. A driver can't just get in any race car and go out there and run fast anymore and make up for what the car won't do. It takes everybody on the team doing their job and doing it right and working together. So communications from what the driver feels to interpreting to what needs to be done to the race car, I think is the most critical now as it's ever been.
Ken, if it's ever been the case, it is right now. You can call in that car. Used to, the driver used to call in and say, boy, I need 3 more rounds of bite, or I need this, I need that. They've got so much equipment in the pits and so much better overall view. You call and say the car is doing this, and they can make the correction on what seems to be the best end of the car to work on. And when you got people like Larry McReynolds in there and Robert Yates, you certainly need to use them as much as possible. And that radio equipment really comes in handy.
Bobby Hamilton, the Country Time car, has just gone behind the wall. He had been running in 16th position 2 laps down, and with Hamilton's retirement, Derek Cope moves up. Here you see the 98 car, which has been running in the 28th position. That's Jimmy Spencer. Great modified champion from Pennsylvania, retiring from the event. Jimmy Spencer is out of the event.
And we also saw him pull in and park right beside Lake Speed, who had one of the in-car cameras on the caution while ago. Lake went in the garage for good.
The Trop Arctic car down, number 66, that carried one of the onboard cameras. Davey Allison carrying another one, and at the moment he's got blue sky and pavement out in front of him. Strickland stays second, Gant third, Schrader fourth, Earnhardt fifth, Dale Jarrett having just a super day in sixth spot. A lap down, Waltrip is in seventh, Richard Petty right there, Rusty Wallace is in ninth, Ernie Irvin in 11th is Terry Labonte, Ricky Rudd, 13th is Kenny Wallace, 14th is Mark Martin, and 2 laps down is Sterling Marlin, number 22, in 15th position. Derek Cope, as we mentioned, is 16th. Michael Waltrip now finds himself in 17th, and his aspirations for this day clouded by an engine that's gone sour. 3 laps down is Chad Little, then Bobby Hillen is 19th, Morgan Shepherd is 4 laps down and 20th, and Tommy Ellis in the Flossie Johnson car is running 21st.
Ken, we're looking at the back of Davey Allison's car, and we're seeing something flapping over our camera that either could be some tape where they've got the area taped up, or in all that traffic a while ago, he was in a big traffic jam, somebody might have popped him in the rear. The rear bumpers on these things are fiberglass mixture Kevlar. That could be fiberglass or either tape flapping on there, but it's not caused him any trouble.
Just waving to the field as he draws away. 318 laps are down. At 3:34, there's 100 miles to go. The extra 100 miles that make all the difference in the Coca-Cola 600. Problems continuing for Bill Elliott in car number 9. Not a good day. Came smoldering out of turn number 4 onto pit road. Hoods up, trunk lids up, and his hopes go down. Bad day for Elliott. Let's hope this team gets it turned around soon. Phil Parsons is down there right now.
We're watching Ernie Elliott look at the right side of the race car, right side of the engine. Bill came in, the car was missing, obviously, smoking very bad out of the tailpipes. And it looks like it burned the piston, the way it was smoking out the breather, smoking out the tailpipes. Ernie's taking a look. He's got the plug wires off, but I'm sure, I would think Bill's probably going to be done for the day. I think Ernie right now is going to take some spark plugs out and see if maybe he can detect that one of them has burned the piston, and it'll show up on the spark plug.
That was moments ago as the car was coming in. That did not look good.
No, and Phil probably hit the nail on the head. You know, a piston, or for it to be puffing out one of the 2 pipes there, it's damage on one side of the engine. It could be, just like Phil said.
Still wants to give it a go. Elliott sitting at the controls, although now it looks like the helmet might be coming off. Davey Allison on the leaderboard. The cousin-in-law, Hut Strickland, second. Harry Gant stays right there in third, close by, with Ken Schrader in fourth, and the intimidator, Dale Earnhardt, a stout fifth. One other man in the lead lap. That's Dale Jarrett with the Wood Brothers, number 21. Their luck has been a mixed bag this year, and they're having a good run at the present time. There is second, third, and fourth. Hut Strickland in the 12 car. Harry Gant in number 33. Ken Schrader in the 25. One more fuel stop should do it for these guys today.
Yeah, you know, we were questionable before if they could go 2. We had that caution, so the guys got them tanked up, and now all they'll need to do probably be one more stop.
Brett Bodine has retired from the event. He's standing by at the STP Pit Center with Mike George.
Well, it's been a marathon run for Brett, and it comes up a little short. What happened to you?
Well, Mike, it looks like the engine let go in the car, possibly cracked a cylinder head or a head gasket. It really hadn't been running up to par all day, right from the get-go, and evidently it just was terminal right from the start.
That makes for a long day when you're fighting one like that.
It really does. You know, the car was handling half decent. We kept trying to make it better, and it looked like we were gaining on it, but we just couldn't keep up down the chutes. And, you know, it's just playing catch-up all day in the corners. You end up overdriving the car, and, you know, it just wasn't a future in that. We were just kind of hanging in there that group 1 lap down, but unfortunately, it's over with.
You are covered with stuff. Do you have a hole in the floorboard or something, or is it all that come in through the window?
No, the radial tires seem to be really wearing quite a bit as far as throwing rubber off the tires, and a lot of buildup, and it comes in the car. It's awful dirty.
Quickly, how's Jeff? Have you talked to him lately?
Well, I'd like to say hello to him. He's over there in Julian. I'm sure he's watching. Unfortunately, we're out of the race, but he's going to come back at Sears Point.
Great.
And we're looking forward to it. Well, I know I miss him at the racetrack. I don't know about the rest of the guys because he's such a good competitor, but I miss him not being around.
Okay, that's older brother Jeff Bodine, the regular driver of Junior Flossie Johnson's Ford. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. I'll tell you, he's one tough customer. He had 3 broken ribs, punctured lung, and he drove home from the racetrack before they finally put him in the hospital over in Greensboro. Here is Davey Allison, the leader, in car number 28.
Mike, that's a follow-up right there. We just heard Mike Joy question about all the junk on the driver, and he was talking about the rubber chunks flying. Look on the windshield, the real black dots. Those things come off there and they roll up like bubble gum. It'll be about 1 inch long or 2 inches long, or just a circular motion. It'll string off the tires and it hits that windshield, and it's like just sticks on there. And even though they clean it with ammonia and lacquer thinner every stop, you can't get it off there, and the drivers get covered up also.
That's what they use to wash the window off.
Yeah, they use ammonia and window cleaner. It's dual purpose. That ammonia smells pretty good sometimes when they clean that windshield.
Well, you're riding with Davey Allison up in front. Let's take a look at this battle further back for third. Here's the 25 car, and that's Schrader back around Harry Gant another time. They've had a go of it the last 100 miles. Schrader has tackled anybody near him and been able to pull it off for the most part. He fell back. We saw him lead. He fell back 4 spots. Now he's attacking once again. Schrader moving back through, looking for Hut Strickland in number 12, the Buick. That is in second position. And, of course, the ultimate going to go wheel to wheel with Davey Allison up in front. Allison's Ford drawing away from Strickland at the present time. Phil Parsons has an update on the number 9 car.
I'm here with Bill Elliott. Bill, it was a long day. What finally put you up?
Well, I tell you what, Phil, it was one of them days that nothing went right. I never worked so hard in all my life to run so bad. You know, we had a problem there. The 25 car, Schrader, was running good enough. He was going far enough on fuel. He got us a lap down. You know, and then I was running along there and coming off turn 4 up there. LeBonnie got into me, spun me out down through the tri-oval. And then that tore out third gear. And it hung in third gear there for a lap or two, and finally it just blew it up. And then all I had was first, second, and high. And then we blew a tire off turn 2 over there. And then the motor, something happened to the motor.
Maybe next time.
Tell you what, it's got to get better.
Caution is out again. Number 19, Chad Little's car, the Bullseye car, in trouble and easing down onto the inside of the racetrack as we go to the 7th caution period of the day.
Ken, just as we talked about before the race started, these guys build 500-mile motors. We deal with them all season long to get that last little bit. Right now, we're fixing to go into, we're putting down 500 miles right now. We're seeing Chad Little fall out with a motor. We just lost Elliott. How many more of them are we going to lose in this last 100 miles? There's Chad Little losing his motor. He would have made a 500-mile race. He could have coasted around for the 500th mile, but now we got another 100 to stack on top of it.
So as the number 19 goes up in smoke, the Spokane, Washington attorney, Chad Little, out of it. That looks like I don't think that was just an oil line down.
No.
Not the header pretty good.
When you do these like this, it's kind of like lighting a fuse and burning it down. Some of them got longer fuses. That just went out.
But we are at 333 laps, and as Neil pointed out, that means we're at that point where there is 100 miles to go. At 334, there's 501 miles logged on the docket in the 32nd running of the Coca-Cola 600. So, opportunity to fuel them up. Here comes Davey Allison onto pit road. Cousin-in-law Hut Strickland right with him. Schrader, Gant, all peeling off. Here's Earnhardt coming in, and rest of that lead lap, of course, one Dale Jarrett in the Wood Brothers, number 21. We'll be back with more as we get down to decide this $960,000 contest after these messages. Let's go to Mike Joy, standing by with a Goodyear Eagle Racing update.
Ken, a lot of great action around the country today and yesterday. Right here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Busch Grand National Series at the Champion Spark Plug 300 yesterday afternoon. On the start, Todd Bodine on the outside. The youngest of the brothers leads from pole sitter Jack Sprague. But as the race wound down, Dick Trickle with a couple of laps to go in number 92 went to the high side, allowing Dale Earnhardt to sneak underneath. And Earnhardt went on to score his second Busch Grand National win of the season. His first came at Daytona in the Goodies 300. If you're going to win, you might as well win the big ones. Earnhardt, Trickle, Harry Gant, and Jimmy Hensley. The point standings for the Busch Grand National Circuit. Bobby Labonte still up on top. Kenny Wallace and Jimmy Hensley with a solid third-place run. The Busch North Series was in action as well yesterday up at Oxford, Maine. Kelly Moore's Buick took the win. Dick McCabe, Jamie Obey, and Billy Clark. Point leader Ricky Craven finished ninth, and Moore assumes the point lead. At Lime Rock Park, the last big race of the weekend is tomorrow, and it's the Lime Rock Grand Prix. Driving an all-American GTP car, a Chevrolet-powered Intrepid, Tommy Kendall shattered the track record by more than 2 seconds. He's on the pole. Davy Jones Jaguar is outside. Chip Robinson in the Nissan. Bob Earl qualifying the Nissan for Jeff Brabham and Juan Fangio's Toyota. At the Indianapolis 500, just concluded a few minutes ago. On the start of the race, Gary Bettenhausen and Buddy Lazier crash on the very first lap right after the drop of the green flag. There they go, spinning off from the back of the field. Once they got back under green at lap 23, Kevin Cogan and Roberto Guerrero will tangle
the new cars
in turn number 1.
You know, you
cars
can see
dodging everywhere. Roberto Guerrero.
Kogan,
who is now out of
being put on the stretcher, suffered a broken right forearm and a broken right thigh. He'll be operated on tonight. Guerrero treated and released. There's A.J. Foyt. Look at the left front wing on his car. Took Supertex out of what may be his last 500. 13 laps to go. Rick Mears passes Michael Andretti to win his 4th Indy 500. Andretti's second. Ari Luyendyk was third. Al Unser Jr. 4th. And John Andretti finished 5th. That's our Goodyear Eagle racing update. Ken Squire.
Thank you. Let me update you on the Coca-Cola 600, which we're watching live on the break from that caution period. Davey Allison has popped right back out in front, carrying on with the same procedure that he has earlier, showing tremendous strength on these restarts. So his Ford is in front. Harry Gant, number 33, is running in second. Ken Schrader is third. Hut Strickland fourth. Dale Earnhardt fifth. And Jarrett sixth. And now you see the battle enjoined at Gant and Schrader for second place. And Schrader, for the moment, has the strength on the inside. And Schrader barrels right down on the bottom and moves into second spot. Neil Bonnet, Schrader looks as good as anybody, but he's first in class. Allison in the class by himself.
Ken, this group of cars right here is an excellent race. Like you said, Davy's almost in a league of his own. Every now and then, a car owner and a driver will get a combination that's unbeatable at certain racetracks. And this looks just like the Winston a week ago when he just ran away from the field. Now, this is a close race up here. And here we have Mark Martin. He's out. He was been smoking for a few laps. I think they just flagged him along with the fact that it looked like the motor turned completely loose.
Well, here you see the 25 car still trying to sneak up through this field. Here's Gant in the 33 right after him. Richard Broom, the crew chief for that car number 25, used to be the man on Nitro Fever, the blown fuel hydro boat that held the world speed record back in the early 70s, and the one that Rick Hendrick himself piloted with some 27 wins. They gave up on that. They came to stock car racing.
Here's Hut Strickland taking a look in there, Ken.
Yeah. Strickland, the Buick, back on the bottom at number 12. Ripping right up through. That is Strickland going for third spot, moving Gant back to fourth. Waltrip was right up on the front when they had this restart. He tried to make his lap up, and they blew him off. They drove him right back. As you see, he now is 4 positions back from those leaders. 3 positions, 4 positions as Strickland has moved by Harry Gant to make him fourth. And Davey Allison, gone. He's got better than 2 seconds, and he's picked it up in about 8 laps over the second place man Schrader.
Ken, that's one reason we have so many good cars laps down. It's very seldom that you'll see a car this dominant. The other group of cars, a Waltrip or someone else is capable of getting a lap back. You might do it against, they might be able to get up and race Schrader, but Davey just checks out and gets him another whole race of his own, and he's just keeping a lot of the good cars a lap down.
Davey Allison, the leader at 500 miles. Leaders at 500 miles who weren't here at the end. Jack Smith that first year when the track tore up, punched a hole right through the bottom of the thing, put him out of it. David Pearson a couple of times, Cale Yarborough, Rick Wilson, all getting down to the end, not having it finish the way they wanted at all. Driving hard all afternoon out here in 135 degree cockpit temperature for sure, maybe a little hotter than that. Greg Sachs has just gone back behind the wall, and there's the relationship. Pretty tight between 25 and 12 for the moment. And here comes Strickland. Hut Strickland with the Buick, bottom of the racetrack. Remember, he started 30th on the field today. Been relentless. Not favoring, not babying at all. The number 28, Davey Allison, continues to draw away. But the one man that has run as fast as Davey Allison has been his father's car with his relative, Hut Strickland, at the control.
His car seems to get better the longer they run. Even on the, on the restarts, he doesn't really jump up through there. It takes a few laps for this car to get better, and it seems like the longer they run, the better chance he's got at it.
Hut Strickland being attacked on the outside, challenged by number 25. That's just such a great scrap. Second place at stake here, and in turn number 3, you see the way that car handles down here. Here they are out of 4, and back to the inside comes Schrader.
Schrader's a racer now. He'll make you work for it.
Back and forth, swapping the positions for second place. Harry Gant looks them over, and Davey Allison drives away. Taking a look at the field through 30 laps of competition. Some of the folks back of the field here. Now here comes Strickland once again, moving for the bottom. Boy, that car works so well up in turn number 3, that number 12 car.
Yeah, when he gets behind someone, Ken, it looks like they almost hold him up through the middle of the corner. When he's got open territory, he can really roll through that corner. But Rusty Wallace comes flying down pit road unscheduled stop.
Let's go to Phil Parsons.
We're down here with Mark Martin, our pole sitter. Mark, it was a short end to a long day, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's about right, Phil. We got a lap down on a pit stop deal. I guess we pitted just a tick too soon, or whatever, or earlier than the 25 car. The caution came out and caught us. We had a fast car, and we could run with Davey. There's no doubt that Davey, is the strongest thing out there, and there's no way we could have beat him. But we did have a strong ride. I just hated, that we couldn't hang in there, because that's a bit, the strongest we've been all year. It felt good to run up there, run as strong as we were.
At one time, it looked like you got your lap back. Our camera showed you did, but I talked to Steve. He said, no, we actually had got the caution a lap before.
Yeah, that was the deal. I thought we'd got the caution before. We almost had it, and if not had engine trouble, that'd have put us right in the hunt. We had a good run, a good, strong car. We could have been up there mixing it up, with this Folgers Thunderbird, but it didn't work out.
Thank you, Mark.
But he leaves today still with a new record for the 600 qualifying at better than 174 miles per hour. And look at Strickland. Once again, he just won't settle for anything less than going by who's ever in front of him. He's just put Ken Schrader back to third. Still another time. Bobbles has to grab it. Sweats it out here as he charges over that very rough fourth turn, this mile-and-a-half Charlotte Motor Speedway, where 351 laps have now been completed. 526.5 miles are down in the 32nd running of the American Classic, the Coca-Cola 600. 532.5 miles are now complete in the Coca-Cola 600. Davey Allison leading twice in the last 4 600s. Davey has led late in the going, but has not won. Will it change today? We'll see. Let's get an update from Dick Berggren standing by on pit road.
Well, I'm with Robert Gates. Robert, it's going to be close on fuel. Can you make it?
Well, I'm not going to stand there and say we make it. We've run that long. On paper, we can make it. The car's working a little bit better now, but we're running about a half a second faster than we were when we ran 66 laps, or equivalent to 66 laps. And I think, if we take every ounce around the corners of the tank, it'll probably just squeak by, but we got our fingers crossed.
Yeah, you don't sound too sure of this.
It's going to be tight.
Going to be tight for a lot of people, but here's what we know, that Ken Schrader has amazing fuel economy. And, of course, everybody remembers Talladega last time out, where Harry Gant duplicated that feat.
Yeah, I'm sure Robert and them are concerned, but, we've seen Schrader and them go that far before.
Looks like Wallace is going to retire the Penske car number 2. He was in a few laps ago for some time, and now he's going back behind the wall, joining Bobby Hamilton back there, who apparently had broken the valve and fallen out of competition today. the retiree list continues to build. We're showing 14, 15 cars now out of the event from the 42 that started. Here is Davey Allison up in front. Second place car. Take a look at the interval. Talk about dominating. The title may fall to Davey Allison after this one. Here's that second place machine, Hut Strickland, in Davey's dad's car. Number 12, just barely in front of Ken Schrader in number 25, the third place car. Harry Gant in number 33 is fourth. Earnhardt is in fifth, and Dale Jarrett is sixth. There you see Morgan Shepherd's number 15. He's running in 16th position. He is 4 laps down. Here's Gant's number 33. Now that he's 50 plus, he says, when they asked him if he feels any different about racing, he said no, but it's the only difference is I don't want to go away from home as much as I used to. Here's number 17, Darrell Waldrop. He is running a lap down in 7th spot. Darrell Waldrop, does the length of this race give you any extra problems?
In my case, I've been very fortunate because the last 100 miles, if you go back and check history, will tell you that in the last 100 miles is when I rose to the top. It's always been, a lot of guys have been better than I have for 490 or 520 miles. But at 550 miles, I seem to be there. And it just complements my driving style. I'm a lazy driver. I like to kind of go out and have a nice, calm, peaceful, quiet Sunday afternoon. And 600 miles is a lot easier for me than 500.
You believe it?
I think Darrell really likes it long races like this, and the only thing that's got him this lap down is Davey being so dominant that nobody can get a lap back. He's been laps down before and got him back and won this particular race. Davey's so strong now, he's not going to let anybody get a lap back.
Incidentally, Greg Sachs ran over some debris on the track. That's the reason he has retired. Apparently it came from Dick Trickle's car earlier. And Sachs, one of those 15 retirees. Here's Earnhardt in the number 3, back there in 5th spot. And right with him is Ernie Irvin. Irvin is a lap down. He is in 8th position with car number 4.
Well, I've got 2 questions for you guys. First, if you took that Darrell Waltrip soundbite and just changed the accent and the pacing a little, would that have been David Pearson talking or what? And second thing, Neil, you're racing for the win in 600 miles. Keeps your attention. You're going all day long. You're trying to rise to the front like Darrell's just talking about. But how about running one of these cars when you're 4, 5, 6 laps down? I can't imagine any day being longer than that, having to struggle with a car like Brett Bodine said he was doing until his engine gave up, and just trying to nurse along to the finish. That's really got to be purgatory.
Mike, you're exactly right. When one of these things is running good, you can sit there all day long, not think about it. And one of them get to running lousy, and it wouldn't blow up if you wanted it to. It'll just keep plugging along and plugging along. And when you get several laps down, you just lose. You don't lose interest, but you just realize you lose the chance to win. And it's hard to set up in that seat and run these things at a level you need to without something dangling out in front of you. Say, hey, you know, if I work hard, I get a reward for it. When you're 4 or 5 laps down, the only reward is a few points, and it's hard to weigh those out at times.
Well, running 1 lap down here, Neil, we saw Richard Petty. He's still in 9th position, feeling pretty perky about it. And the number 94 is Terry Labonte, running in the 10th position on the field. Starting his 13th Coca-Cola 600 today, number 94, Terry Labonte. And there is Ricky Rudd, the 11th place campaigner at the present time, as you get a sense of where they are around the Speedway. Ricky Rudd running in 11th with another of the Hendrick cars, that one prepared by the brilliant Waddell Wilson. The only other man in that lap would be the number 42 of Kenny Wallace, and in front of Kenny is the number 22 of Sterling Marlin. Sterling is 2 laps down in the 13th position at this time. Has to affect all of them. The junior isn't here. Here you see the number 10. That's Derek Cope. He's running right behind Sterling, 2 laps down in 14th position. Last year's Daytona 500 and Dover champion. Dover, the next event on the schedule for the Winston Cup Tour this year. Michael Waltrip, who started from the front row, be the next car in that lap. He's back in 15th spot.
Ken, you talk about bringing back memories of these fans with Richard Petty. I want you to watch this line going in the corner. He got it down a little bit low that time. He's trying to get under a car. He's working with Dale Jarrett right now. He ran Dale Jarrett down from a long way back. He ran it down on the Richard Petty line, 1 foot off the wall all the way around the racetrack. After he gets out of this confrontation right here, we'll look at him again, but he brings back memories of running up front, but he's also brought that Richard Petty line back into effect.
Well, there's the greatest memory of all, the 21 against the 43. That's Dale Jarrett in 6th position. That famous 21 that Pearson drove and you drove, and so many times we saw it wheel to wheel here and so many other great tracks with Richard Petty right on it.
He had been running right up around the wall to run someone down, and when you do that, you need to get under him like that. But I looked out the window, and boy, it did bring back memories to see him. He's always ran higher on a racetrack than anyone at that track, and he was back up in his old place.
Yep. Tell you else who runs this track high a lot of times is Harry Gant. He hasn't used that much today. No. Must be geared differently, but a lot of times in days gone by, he stuck it right up in that old Petty groove. Same one they talked about at Daytona on the Tri-Oval. No one ever went to the Tri-Oval quite like Richard Petty, maybe Fireball way back. Here's 33, Harry Gant, chugging along, maintaining 4th spot as we get down to tell time, 369 laps complete of the 400 laps in the Coca-Cola 600. We have 553 miles complete. Davy's lead is varying from lap to lap between 4.5 and 5 and 2/10 seconds.
Well, I've just done an inventory of all of the top 5 cars to see who can make it on fuel and who can, and the most worried of all of them is car 28, Davey Allison. They have in fact just radioed to Davey and said, feather it, help us on this one, we got to make it to the end. Hut Strickland's crew said no problem. Schrader's crew said no problem. The 33 Gant's crew said no problem. Earnhardt's guy said, we think we can, we hope we can.
What about Dale Jarrett back there in the 21? There's one that could be a factor. Those Wood brothers were always scamps at figuring out ways to get more mileage, make these cars more efficient, weren't they, Neil?
Well, I'll tell you what, Leonard Wood is one of the best all-around mechanics you'll ever see. He builds the car from one end to the other. He certainly knows how to get the mileage out of the car also.
And to top it, he has always been one of the nicest men in the sport. Here he comes, the 21 car, back on 43. Remember that Petty is running in 9th, a lap down. Dale Jarrett with him. Help each other out and work these last laps. Let's go to Mike Joy at the STP Pit Center.
Ken, Rusty Wallace is the defending champion of this race. Your car owner went 1 for 2 today. Rick Mears wins at Indy. You had some tough luck here. What happened?
Well, it looks like we dropped the valve in the engine. It was running good. The car handled real well early on. Then it got loose. Then we got to tighten back up, and then it got loose again. It varied with different sets of tires we put on. But it was running fine. All of a sudden, they told me to start watching the oil temperature because the bag started clogging the grill up. Well, that was okay. And as soon as they said that, we dropped the valve. So it's disheartening. It really is. You know, I hear what happens to the Miller team at Indy. I'm grateful for what happened to our Penske team at Indy. Congratulations to Rick Mears and the whole team. Great job. Wish we could have done it here, but that same old problem with an intake valve or exhaust valve or some type of valve just crept up on us again.
Tell me about that first run of green flag racing where everybody came in on the first stop. You did not. You stayed out.
It was a mistake. It was
we have a crash in turn number 2.
We'll be back. Ken?
We've got some problems out in turn number 2. A car spinning out of the second turn. Caution going down. Caution is out. It'll bring the field back together. Car looping from the outside, touched the wall, came right across. You could see Davey Allison. They're running back to the flag here. Morgan Shepherd across the stripe. There's Davey right there.
I tell you, Davey will give that lead up for some fuel, I promise you. He had a big lead, but he'll give you that so he can come in right now and see if they put some fuel in that thing so they know they can make it the rest of the way.
The incident is in turn number 2 that has brought out this caution period. It involves Kenny Wallace in car number 42, who had been running in 12th position. Kenny Wallace in trouble, came down across the track. Hence this caution, which gives us the 8th of the afternoon. Most cautions, 11 in 1960 and 67. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back fueling these cars for a run to the finish in the 32nd Coca-Cola 600. 376 laps, 564 miles complete in the Coca-Cola 600. All the leaders have pitted in their first lap. Now the lap cars have had the opportunity as they came back on the track. Dale Jarrett, who only changed 2 tires, has the lead. Dale Earnhardt, the rest of the crowd all changed 4. He's in second. Earnhardt, Allison is in third. Gant is fourth. Schrader fifth, and Strickland back to 6 as we prepare on the restart. Let's go to Mike Joy, who's still with Rusty Wallace, I think.
Yes, Rusty, you said you had a calculated gamble on the first pit stop. Didn't quite work out.
Yeah, it really didn't work out. It's something we're embarrassed about, really. We had a window. We wanted to make it past lap 38 to be able to make the race on 6 stops, and that's the reason we stayed out. We were lap 21. We wanted to lead those 5 points, and we wanted to go, but no caution came out after that, and when that didn't happen, that put us a lap down. It was a live and learn deal. Well, bad deal.
Couldn't feel the inside straight. Kenny had a good run going today. You got to be proud of him.
He had a good run going, and while we were on break, I guess something happened to him. I don't know what it was.
Okay. Handicap this bunch for me, if you will. You've raced against him all day long. Davey Allison, Kenny Schrader, Dale Jarrett. Who's going to win this thing?
I'll tell you, there's not a lot of laps left, and Earnhardt's been sporadic at different times. I really got to put my money on Davey because he's so strong and he can do it so quick. And looks like he'll be up the 3rd car in outside lane, and that shouldn't be no problem for him.
Okay, thank you. Rusty Wallace.
Ken, I noticed that Davey Allison came out with some different colored rims on his car, like he might be running out of tires. Phil Parsons down there. Phil, what's the deal with that?
I'll tell you, Neil, he probably borrowed the tires, and he did put stickers on. He's put stickers on the last 5 pit stops. But I'll guarantee you this is the happiest crew at the racetrack. They weren't sure of the top 5. They weren't sure if they could make it or not. Now, obviously, with only 23 laps to go, they can make it. So I think they're pretty happy right now.
Got to fight their way from 3rd. That's where they'll be on the restart with Dale Jarrett first, Earnhardt second. Might talk about stickers for a moment as we get set for this thing to go green.
They put the brand new tires on. Sometimes they put these tires on and run them 1 or 2 laps and get them ready and size them and make sure everything just like they want to be. Even though they're radials, they want to see what they look like after a couple of laps. The stickers, they just like they come out of the mold. The rubber's still shiny and they get real fast for about 2 laps.
Davey Allison has led 244 laps as we come down to green. As they come by, there'll be 378 laps complete. 22 laps remain. Here's the break. Davey Allison squeaks down to the bottom of the racetrack. Thunders down into the corner, tries to pull himself through.
Big wreck behind him.
And there is a major mess down behind them as they come out of turn number 2.
And they avoided it. Hut Strickland was completely sideways, right back up in the groove and never lost position hardly.
But 2 cars have run really slowly down to the bottom of the track. I think one might be Mickey Gibbs, who has re-entered the race, and the other is the 94 of Labonte. Back to the line. After this shakeout, car number 3, Earnhardt is there. Let's take a look again at what happened on that start.
Going down in the first turn, everybody's all wadded up. Here's 94 on the inside, and there's Hut Strickland. They touch right there. Strickland is sideways. The 94 is going to get out on the flat, and you need to watch the rest of this. This is not driving school. This is luck right here. They go flying back up in the racetrack. They were supposed to wreck. They just didn't finish it. They were all over the place.
Strickland's number 12 falling back just a bit after that start that had him almost in major catastrophic problems in turns 1 and 2. Earnhardt for the lead. Allison for second. Back straightaway. Allison closing in. He's come so close in this race over the last 4 years. Never won it. Davey Allison streaks down into turn number 3. Maneuvers to the outside. Ready to challenge Dale Earnhardt for the lead.
Kind of doing it the hard way right around the outside. They've got a lot of race car today.
Here comes Earnhardt back on the bottom. A lot of grit out there as he tries to hold on with the handling car. The working machine is Allison's on the outside as he flies better than 180 into turn number 1. Down to about 155 in the corner. Brings it back to full speed again. Davey Allison is in front, trying to win the Coca-Cola 600. When he was in junior high school, this kid was a cornerback and a tailback on a junior high school football team. When he went to the high school, the coach would not give him a uniform. He said at 110 pounds, Davey Allison was too small. He would get hurt. And Davey said, thanks, I want to go racing anyway. Driving a race car was safer than playing football as far as I was concerned.
I got a feeling he's filled this uniform up. He's getting the job done today.
The NFL's loss, Winston Cup's game. Look at him out in front by 4 car lengths. Davey Allison sets it up and brings that Haviland car back down across the start-finish line in front of this immense crowd. Certainly appears to be a record, largest infield we've ever seen. As collected as his dad always was at these times. Never a wheel, never a hair out of place. Until after the race was over. And if something went wrong, stand back. Battle for third. Here comes Gant on the inside. Ken Schrader in the 25. Posted high. The number 4 car, Ernie Irvin, is running 7th, 1 lap down. Irvin looking for the hole. Not there.
Boy, Richard, something broke on Richard's car right in the wall.
Richard Petty is slammed hard into turn number 4. It looks like a tire went away, and he absolutely...
Something broke on that thing. I mean, he was coming off corner, turned directly right, straight in the wall. Either lost a tire or something on the front steering broke, because he went directly into the wall.
Car number 43, which had been running 8th position, 1 lap down. A solid wrap.
Oh, he picked it up after it happened. He was coming off that corner. And I mean, when I saw him, he was down at the bottom of the racetrack, and you couldn't have turned the car any more to the right. He just drove. You can see how the car squared off from about the middle of the hood to the door. It went directly in. It hit about a 45-degree angle. It really did some damage to that car. Hopefully Richard's not hurt. Here we go. Maybe we can get it right here before it happens.
That just turned into the wall.
Just driving along, and all of a sudden it made a right-hand turn.
That looks like a tire.
There's a place on the track, a little shiny place that looks like where the car dropped down on the before it hit the wall. It could have been a tire.
Richard Petty still in car number 43. We're waiting for further word on the King, who has crashed here. Single car incident, turn number 4. It was lap 384 when Petty's car just turned right at turn 4. We'll be back with more from Charlotte and update you on the Richard Petty story in just a moment. At lap 387, under caution, 54-year-old Richard Petty making his 30th start in the Coca-Cola 600 in a serious crash at turn number 4 moments ago. His car coming to rest in the grass down here in the tri-oval area of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Harry Gant is in for additional tires. The good news is that the King walked away. Richard Petty, with 200 wins, who loves this sport almost as much as his family, says, "Thank you, I don't need any help." They told him he had to get on the gurney and be taken over to the infield medical center to be checked out by his old buddy, not a relative, Dr. Petty. And this crowd standing not so much in curiosity, but in admiration of the greatest driver that NASCAR has produced. 200 wins. And Richard's out of it, but he's all right. That's the good news. Car, that's something else again. And write that one off. It's more than the front clip on that car.
Boy, the car is totally destroyed. Thank goodness Richard's not hurt. Hopefully he's not. We had 2 things happen right then on the caution. We had Harry Gant come in and put 4 tires on, and Hut Strickland come in and put 4 tires on. There's not but just 6 cars in the lead lap, so that's a gamble that the new tires will really be beneficial for them. The front guys couldn't gamble on that, and they've got enough time left that those tires might be a factor in what happens here. They'll be able to pull up right on the outside to the leader, so they should be in good shape.
Neil, I like that gamble, especially with only 6 cars on the lead lap. We saw very early in this race when a driver would take on only 2 tires, everybody with 4 tires quickly ran him down. And as we continue under caution here, I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the guys on the lead lap kind of rethought their position and came in and got tires before we go back to green.
Yeah, I was talking to Andy Petrie right after the caution came out. Pit road was closed for a couple laps. I said, "Andy, what are you going to do?" He said, "I want to gamble." I said, "What do you got to lose?" I said, "What's it? You're running 4th." I said, "There's only 6 cars in the lead lap." He said, "Absolutely." He said, "He may steal us a couple positions." So that's why they came in. And I think Hut Strickland had the same idea.
Think they're thinking right?
Ken, I certainly do. We've seen, all we've heard lately is sticker tires, sticker tires. You heard Richard Childa say early in the race they're saving their sticker tires. They're a lot faster. Now, even though Davey and these other guys don't have about 6 or 8 laps on those other tires, there is a difference there.
Kenny Wallace coming back out. He's running 2 laps down. That was the ride of Kyle Petty until that terrible crash broke his leg and gave Kenny an opportunity to get a shot at Winston Cup racing. Felix Sabetta's car coming to speed once again. And it will be some time before we see Kyle back in competition well towards the end of the year. He wants to mend and make sure it's right. He told a wonderful story the other day. Kyle said he woke up, they got him home, and Adam, one of his sons, was there with 2 or 3 of the neighbors' kids. Said, "Pop," and he was trying to sleep. He said, "These kids really want to see just what all those scars are all about." And he's probably selling 25-cent shots to come in and see Kyle Petty banged up.
I tell you what, I should have been collecting a little bit. If
yes,
I made a quarter on mine, I'd have been way ahead of the game.
Kyle says he's now an expert on 2 or 3 of the leading soap operas. Refused to name which one. Here we are getting ready to close out this soap opera. It's been a dandy. We have a family feud that's been going for about 100 miles between Davey Allison and Hut Strickland. For the moment, Hut Strickland's on the tail end of the lead lap. Allison will be first, Earnhardt second. It'll be Schrader third, Gant fourth, Dale Jarrett to fifth, Strickland out back in that lead lap as we come down to 390 laps complete. 10 to go, just 15 miles to decide. This looks like a replay of the Winston 2 years ago. 10 laps to decide it all. Big money's down.
A big 10-lap shootout for all the money. Let's see what these guys can do.
Okay, you're the expert analysis guy. You tell us who's going to win this thing.
Give me 9 laps and I'll let you know.
On the break, Davey Allison. That's what he's done all afternoon. Just pulls drag strips away from the rest of the field. Earnhardt right there in second. Ernie Irvan in between them is in 7th place, 1 lap down. This is to decide it all from Davey Allison's view in the Haviland car. Car a little tattered but running well. Here comes Earnhardt moving around. Ernie Irvan and closing up. Schrader back there in third. Going fourth is Gant. 5th, Jarrett. And 6th is Hut Strickland, who with a 6th place today, be his best finish. And what a run he has given this crowd.
I tell you what's really making a move is Harry Gant with those new tires. He's really coming up through the pack. I don't know if he's going to be able to get any further than he is now, but he's really come from where he was at up there. Davies broke away, but Gant's coming pretty strong.
He shook loose from some lap cars. Here he comes under Irvan. Harry Gant at number 33. Trying to retrieve some position. Schrader moves up on the outside of number 3, Earnhardt. Schrader going down into turn number 1. Finds the ride on the high side. Likes it up there.
And here comes Harry Gant. Remember, fellas, it's a $100,000 bonus if he wins today, and he can win the $1 million if he can win here at Darlington. So there's more at stake for him than anybody else out here.
Gant going for the 2nd leg of the Winston Million. One at Talladega. Needs one here. Here they come, almost 3 wide out of turn 4. Gant looking for the hole. Allison draws away. Has the 12-car length advantage. 393 laps are down. This is the battle for 2nd place. Earnhardt on the inside. On the outside is Schrader. Harry Gant in the number 33 looking for some room. Ford, Chevy, Oldsmobile, Ford, and Buick fill up the leaderboard in those top 6 positions.
At the same time, this is going on. Hut Strickland's having a problem falling off the pace. He won't be able to make a run for the win right here.
But he's in that lead lap. It'll be enough to bring the Bobby Allison car home in 6. Here comes Harry Gant. Trying to nose under car number 3. As they go under 5 laps to go.
The concern now, Ken, is the new tires will almost equal out now. He's got 5 laps on those tires. He's not going to have a big advantage with his tires. He's about used up the good off of them now.
Davey Allison continuing to draw away now by 15 car lengths, and the domination that he demonstrated in the Winston is being shown once again. There's the interval, 1st to 2nd place.
I tell you what, Ken, you know, these guys are bad to name race cars. If this car pulls this thing off like it did the Winston, I'd jack it up in the I'd call it Charlotte. That'd be the only place I'd run it. I'd save that thing for right here.
Davey Allison, who has said over and over again, the man who has masterminded my entire career, my development as a racer, is my father. And his father's car is running in the lead lap. Davey's up in front, and his dad's car is on the tail end of this lead lap. As it trickles down now, 397 up on the board.
A
Around the man who sat on the outside of the front row at the outset shortly after 1 o'clock, Michael Waltrip, Davey Allison. It's going to be a tremendous week for Davey Allison here, having collected some $325,000 last weekend in the run into Winston, and being relentless in gaining more ground on the point standing battle and that overall cash earned in the year. Here's Davey Allison coming around. It'll be a white flag next time by. Davey Allison has said racing is something that we do because we enjoy it. Not because of the money, not because of the glory. It's simply the thrill of winning. If the races don't pay half of what they're paying now, the same folks would be out racing. We come to race even though risk and danger exist out there. The rewards that we win are worth it.
Here it goes. He took the white flag the last lap. Boy, that car has been so dominant for a month, not a week or so. This thing's been here for 2 or 3 weeks, and they have just been unbeatable.
Close so many times. Doesn't count for anything in automobile racing. For this moment, as he comes around to win his 9th Winston Cup event, this day, this entire month of May in Charlotte, North Carolina, has belonged to the Alabama gang. Davey Allison has done it, and he's done it in style. His grandfather must be proud at this moment back in Alabama watching this one.
I'll tell you what, he's for 2 weeks here. They just did what.
Ken Schrader will come home second. Harry Gant finishes 4th. Earnhardt sandwiched in between, gets 3rd with number 3. Dale Jarrett has a wonderful ride. He gets himself 5th for the Wood brothers. There'll be some joy in Virginia tonight. And finishing 6th, the other Allison, Bobby Allison's car. Hut Strickland having a great day. We'll be back to meet the winner of the 32nd annual Coca-Cola 600, young Davey Allison, right after these messages. And there's the scene in Victory Lane at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Coca-Cola 600, and this whole racing 10 days belongs to Davey Allison. About to clamber out of the Robert Yates car after a very successful week. Started last Sunday winning the Winston, fell back a bit in qualifying. They were somewhat stunned when things changed as they did, and we had Mark Martin up in front, but that's all gone by now. Dick Berggren is standing by with a winner, his first win in the 600.
And he is standing by his race car, standing on his race car. You can hear the noise in the background. Well, Davey Allison, the race doesn't always go to the strongest or the fastest man, but today it surely did. How important was this backup engine in that?
Well, I tell you what, Dick, you know, you and I talked about it before the race, and this thing just really ran super all day long. It was just a great race for the Texaco Haviland Krispy Kreme racing team. This old Thunderbird stayed glued to the racetrack all day, but I got to hand it to the guys that work on the car. The engine ran superb, and the chassis was perfect.
How hard did you run the car today? Was there any more left in it, or did you just run it wide open all day?
No, I ran it hard. I didn't save anything.
Where else are you going to run this race car? Are you just going to put this thing in bronze somewhere?
This thing's batting 1,000 at Charlotte right now, so we might just save it for the fall.
On lap 380, you went 3 wide going into the first turn, and right behind you, everybody went in every which direction. How close were you to all that?
Well, I didn't see what happened behind me, but, you know, the car was working perfect. I could run on the inside or the outside all day long. It was just perfect.
Were you surprised at Hutt's strong run today?
I'll tell you, I sure would have liked to seen him run second because he did have a good run. And I don't know what happened that knocked him back. They said he got together with somebody, but, you know, it's a great run for Hutt and Bobby Allison Motorsports, but Texaco Haviland, Robert Yates Racing, we're the happiest ones we can be today.
What was your strong suit today, Davey? Was it engine, chassis, driver?
It was everything. The crew did a superb job in the pits. They made the right adjustments for me when I needed them. The car ran perfect. You know, like I said, chassis ran perfect. I could stay right on the bottom or go to the outside, and the motor was just strong as anything we've had in there.
600 miles. You don't look tired, are you?
I could run 600 more right now.
That's what winning will do to you.
Well, there is the champion today. Average speed is being shown at 138. I don't believe that. I don't think it could have possibly been that fast with 9 caution periods. Phil Parsons will check on that speed. Let's go to Phil Parsons.
I'm down here with the second place finisher, Kenny Schrader. Kenny, you got a thing with seconds here this month at Charlotte.
I tell you what, Phil, as you know, I mean, we all want to go down there in victory lane, but if we can't, this is the next best place to be. And I want to thank everybody that worked on the car. I mean, they did a heck of a job. The car was good all week, and Frank Edwards, Richard Broom, chassis guys, and the guys from the engine shop, you know, the whole team, they're maintaining the car good. Frank and Richard and I finally figured out what we wanted in the chassis, and we're just ready to keep racing.
How about that 28 car? Was he stout today?
He's pretty dang fast. I tell you what, whenever somebody's going down straightaways a little bit faster and going through each turn a little bit faster, you know well you ain't going to outrun them.
Maybe in October you can improve one spot.
Yeah, we'll try.
Good run, Kenny.
Ken Schrader, whose efforts for the Hendrick Racing Stable give him second place after starting third today. Earnhardt third, Gant. Dale Jarrett wraps up the top 5. More from Charlotte shortly. Average speed has been confirmed at 138.951 miles per hour, which is a very good average on this mile-and-a-half track, considering there were 9 cautions and 55 laps under yellow today. There were 22 lead changes among 10 drivers as you look at these final results. Looking at the top 5 as they came across the line and this gigantic throng here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway beginning to find their way home on this Memorial weekend. There's Davey Allison, and there's the rest of the gang. His wife Liz and daughter Krista Marie, who has learned all about racing. She knows how to give that victory sign just as good as anybody that's ever graced victory lane. Krista Marie looks very excited, doesn't she, Neil?
She's hard to get excited. We got a thing at the house with her, and the only time she talks is when you want to talk on TV. She'll holler at you every now and then.
Let's find out more on the Richard Petty story now at the STP Pit Center. Mike Joy is standing by.
Well, Ken, aside from Davey Allison's big victory, perhaps the best news of the day comes from the Care Center, and that Richard is okay. What a wallop he took into the 4th turn wall. The car just turning right and shooting straight in there. The only possibility of injury to Richard, who has just walked out of the Care Center, is that he banged his leg a bit, either on his shifter or on the left side of the driver compartment. Here's another look at it. You'll see Richard Petty's car coming along way at the top right of the screen and just takes a sharp right turn into the wall. Talk about right on red. And it ripped up the whole front end of the STP Pontiac and slides across the infield grass to rest. It was a while as Richard gained his composure. Took probably 2 or 3 minutes. He climbed out of the car, waved to the crowd, who was just cheering him probably louder than they cheered Davey Allison's victory. And then the care crew dropped him onto a stretcher, said, we're going for a ride to the infield care center, and we may be able to get a word from him. He said, I'd kind of like to get into traffic and get on up to level cross and get the car fixed up for Dover next weekend. He'll be there. He almost was able to record his best finish of the year. We'll try to update you further if we get a chance to talk to Richard. Right now, let's go to Dick Berggren.
We have a little family affair here, Mike Joy. I'm with Dale Jarrett, his wife Kelly, his father Ned was just in here. Everybody's sort of sitting on the floor in the scales. You got a lot of reason to be happy as you sit around this afternoon.
Well, I think so. The Citgo Ford performed great all afternoon. We ran good. The guys did an excellent job in the pits all day long, and didn't have to make many adjustments, and we just couldn't quite go on new tires. That's where we would get hurt a little bit. The car was a little bit loose. Oddly enough, it would tighten up after that, but it seemed to work good in long runs, and we had a lot of that today. And I'd just like to thank the guys and Larry Britton with Citgo for giving me a good race car today.
How physical was it out there today? Was it really hot and demanding in the car?
Yeah, it really was. I had quite a bit of air blowing on me, but that was hot air coming in there, and it was awfully tough. And I got a cold or the flu a couple of days ago here and hadn't quite been able to shake that, so I'm a little more drained, but I don't think that I could have done any more with the car than what I did.
You wouldn't want to run a couple hundred more miles?
Not today, but I'll be ready to go when we go to Dover next week.
There's Dale Jarrett, a good, strong 5th place finish.
I'd like to have the reaction. There you see one of the men responsible, Bruton Smith, giving one of those Charlotte 600 trophies. That may be the hardest part of the day, holding that monkey up. That's a big, heavy trophy. So there's the winning family here this afternoon. And it appears to me that Krista Marie is not too interested in helping her father with the celebration today. Thank you. I have a better use for that finger than getting in showbiz. We'll be back with more following the great 32nd annual Coca-Cola 600 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway after these messages.
Davey Allison still enjoying the accolades in victory lane as this huge throng files out of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Some say now the real race begins as everybody jockeys for position to get out onto Route 29 and into the traffic headed home. Just spoke with Richard Petty. He gave a big wave and a smile as he hopped into the van, but once Linda got him in the seat and the seatbelt on, they made the turn and went to level cross. But Richard is okay and will be back next week. A young fellow who had a great run today and part of the new Alabama gang, and what a tremendous job he did for Bobby Allison and team, Hut Strickland. What a terrific run you had up front here. I'll tell you, what'd you figure out last week in the running of the Winston Open where you finished in the top 3 that really helped you here today?
Well, you know, Mike, it seemed like we had a real good setup. You know, Jimmy Finnick and all the guys on the team, you know, really worked hard on trying to get the car shot right to get across the bumps. And you know, it seemed like that was our edge today. You know, we could really run low through 3 and 4, and a lot of guys couldn't. And, you know, the engine run good, and it was just a whole combination.
You had those new fresh tires on that last pit stop. Looked like a good move. What happened to you there?
Well, when I turned down to go under Schrader there going in 1, and somebody was underneath me, and it was a deal where I couldn't see them, or I was hoping nobody was there, put it like that. But I turned down to go underneath Schrader, and somebody collected me, and I must have over-revved the engine and broke a bunch of valve springs. But the thing, you know, it started missing, and then it was just a deal. We just rode and tried to finish.
Now you're sitting here pretty calm, taking a cold drink, but once it sinks in, how tickled are you going to be with your run today?
Well, you know, I'll tell you, I'm really tickled. You know, I'd like to have been the top 1 or 2 cars, and because I feel like we had a 1 or 2 car, a first or second place car here today. But you know, I got to congratulate Davey because he was definitely hooked up all day today, and all his guys done a super job.
Keep an eye on this young fellow. He's coming fast to the front. Hut Strickland. Let's join Phil Parsons back in the garage area.
I'm here with Harry Gant, our 4th place finisher. Harry, you had a little gamble there at the last caution flag. You came in and got 4 tires. It was a pretty good gamble. Didn't hurt you any, but it could have helped.
It could have helped if we'd had enough time to go. They caution stayed a little longer than we thought, but we had nothing to lose. There's 6 cars in the lead lap, and we was 4th. We only had to pass was 2. Well, Hutch come in, so just lost 1 position, and it was good. It helped the car up a lot, but just not enough time. We were really fortunate to finish before we did, and we're tickled with it.
Looked like at the end of the race you only lacked about a half a car length beating Dale back to the line. 1 more lap, could you have got him?
Well, yeah, I think so. I was trying him on the inside, and I think I'll go the outside here, and I surprised myself when we came down. The car ran better on the outside than I thought it would with the new tires. He was running pretty low the last couple laps. And yeah, a couple more laps, I'd have been better off.
Harry, this was a hot race, and you're known as one that the heat doesn't bother very much. Were you okay today?
Yeah, I was fine. They gave me a couple of ice rags today and breathed a little air off the ice, and a couple, I guess 2 or 3 cups of water, and that pretty much done it for me. The car was good, cool.
Okay, Harry again, your 4th place finisher. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, I'm with Dale Earnhardt, 3rd place finisher. You had a good, strong run, but not quite strong enough to beat Davey.
Well, Davey was in a class by himself. They've given him a few things here in the last couple of weeks to really give him an edge on us. But, you know, I still couldn't outrun Schrader. I was about a 2nd or 3rd place car there, and we're pretty tickled with finishing 3rd over the finishes we've had here at Charlotte in the last several races. So, you know, the Jim Goodwrench team has done a good job here, and, you know, it's a tough, long day. It's a hot one, but, you know, we're tickled with 3rd.
What was the strongest part of Davey's run as you saw it?
Well, he's pretty stout down that straightaway. We just couldn't run with him at all, and you know, he's a little bit awesome there.
This is your best finish at Charlotte since 1986. It's got to make you feel happy there.
Well, that's true. You know, we just was wanting to try to get back in a groove here, and won the Busch race yesterday and finished 3rd today in a bad weekend.
Same car you ran last year, but when we covered it, they were trying to straighten the frame out here in the garage, so today's a much better day than this race last year. Well, this is a different race car. This is the one I crashed in qualifying, but we fixed it and did a good job. Dale Earnhardt, good, strong 3rd place finish. He's happy. He'd be a lot happier if he were 2 spots up, though.
That Thunderbird of Davey Allison's is going to need a bigger trunk to haul all the money he's earned at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the last 8 days to the bank. Davey Allison victorious, and no surprise, he dominated the True Value Hard Charger race standings as well. That 5-4-3-2-1 point standing on every lap. Davey 1,553 points today. Ken Schrader, Dale Earnhardt, Harry Gant. Great run for Hut Strickland here, but the fellow who gets paid is Davey. He'll take home $1,500 from True Value Hardware stores. Let's go high atop the Charlotte Motor Speedway to Ken Squire and Neil Bonnet.
And with that run today, Davey Allison moves from 7th to 4th in the Winston Cup standings as they move on to Dover. That was torrid competition, temperature in the 90s, and now there's a cool breeze that's just curling around this mile-and-a-half superspeedway. As we cool down, Neil, your reflections on the performance of Davey Allison today.
Just like last week, just total domination. Yesterday we were saying who's got a chance to win this thing, and I think it's off qualifying a little bit, kind of lull people to sleep about Davey Allison, but he woke them back up today. A complete repeat of last week, just total domination.
Robert Yates seems to come here always with strength, and a couple of times they've come so close and failed. What is it that he seems to know that others don't know, Neil?
I don't know, the motor combination. You know, Davey would be the first one to tell you, since they put Larry McReynolds with him, it's really picked up performance of the car. But that thing handles down that straightaway, man. They run on that racetrack.
They certainly do. You know, Davey Allison has said, I don't ever recall not wanting to be a driver, and he was some driver today. He made that car work wherever he wanted to go. As we take a look at the cars out of the race, the attrition on today's event, Dick Trickle, Greg Sachs going down through. These are the cars that failed to make the finish of today's event. But Allison's performance throughout all of this, as we see those that just weren't that fortunate in this 42-car field, there was never a time when he had a wheel out of line. He just didn't seem to make a mistake.
Ken, if we're being realistic, the only time we had a race was when Davey would pit or get caught back in traffic or get out of sync on the pit stops. When he was up front, he went straight to the front, got out there, and nobody could touch him. A guy might could pass him for a lap or two, he'd jump right back around him. The only time they were competitive is when they got him caught in traffic.
So we'll be back with more here from the Charlotte Motor Speedway as we review this great 32nd annual American Classic, the Coca-Cola 600, in a moment.
All over with the shouting here at Charlotte. Davey Allison over Ken Schrader, Dale Earnhardt, Harry Gant, Neil Bonnet, and Hut Strickland, the young Alabama driver, having such a fine run here, finishing up there on the lead lap. 22 lead changes, not a record, but a strong competitive race. 10 different drivers held the lead. The caution flags, 9 of them slowed the average speed to 138.9. 55 of the 400 laps run under caution, and of 41 starters, only 19 of the cars dropping out for this, the longest distance race on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit, and a truly dominating performance by Davey Allison.
As we take a look at the final results here, run down through the field, Ford has turned things around after they did not have a very good start to 1991, Neil.
Yeah, they hadn't won a race coming in here, and all of a sudden they win 2 in a row, counting last week's race. But I tell you what, we go to right to Dover, and you know they're going to have to start over again. This thing here was good for Ford. They got their work cut out for them now.
What do you feel about Strickland's run? I mean, you know Bobby Allison, you know how hard he's had that team working to come together. To me, they now become a factor for the rest of the season. They've knocked on the door. We saw them at Daytona. We saw them earlier at Talladega, where they'd run up with anybody. Today they said, we're here. We intend to stay up here, lead lap all the time.
Well, you got to keep in mind, Hut Strickland is fairly new to the sport. He's building his confidence over and over and over, and runs like today are the best thing that could ever happen. He might not have won the race, he might not have finished second, but he was up there in contention all the time, and that's going to make him better next week. The only way to get better is get the confidence in yourself and your race team. The team is there. Now Hut's coming around and really getting that thing running.
Well, on this Memorial weekend, after all the fire and the furor and the battle that we've seen, you're left with the thought that wouldn't it be grand if all battles and wars could be decided as we've seen this one resolved today in favor of Davey Allison and the Alabama gang, whose colors now stand high over Victory Circle here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Quite a race, Neil. Yeah, let's go down and talk to the pit reporters for a moment and get a final assessment from the gentlemen that have been out there in the heat all day. First from Dick Berkman.
Well, Ken Squire, I'll tell you what, if I was going to buy a race engine, the guy I think I'd go to is Robert Yates. About 1/3 of the races he has entered here at Charlotte as an engine builder, he has won. And you heard people talk about how stout Davey Allison was down the straightaway. That's horsepower, that's engine. What do you think, Phil?
Well, I tell you, you know, we can't say any more about Davey Allison, but the thing is, for the last month, people have said, what's wrong with the Fords? They haven't won a race yet this year. The Chevrolets have won 6 or 7. Pontiacs have won a couple. Oldsmobile won one. What happened to the Fords? Well, I don't think we have to worry about the Fords winning any races anymore, because obviously, with Davey's performance over the last couple of weeks, Fords are back.
Quite a payday. $137,000 goes to Davey Allison. Add that to $235,000 a weekend ago. That's been some 10 days here at Charlotte.
I might be able to go to the bank in Hueytown. I have plenty of money next week.
Well, thank you for being with us, and on behalf of everybody who's worked so hard to bring you this Coca-Cola 600, and in particular, our announcers around the Speedway, Mike Joy, Dick Berggren, Phil Parsons, Neil Bonnet, Ken Stabler. I'm Ken Squire saying so long from the American Classic, the 32nd running of the 600 at Charlotte.